I know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees, listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us on boy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC slash master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I read the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange the whole concept. Yo, it's good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Just atomic, bees like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the poetic type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just worry.
Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable dictions. My styles might vary. Yo, good morning, y'all. It is February 16th, Monday, 0913 Central European Time, 3:13 Eastern Standard Time, 12:13 LA Time, and also Pacifica Time, if you want to call it that, and somewhere in between that and after that everywhere else. Good morning to the world. Yo, y'all, I'm sorry about yesterday. I had some streams set up, but it ended up just being a quiet day at the home. My daughter was a little sick, actually, so I just spent some extra hygge time with her, chill out time, and kicking back because she wasn't terribly sick, but she's off from school today and she wasn't that fresh, so I decided to just chill out and just let it flow with her until we find out something else, right? And so but now it's a Monday. I got to get my week going, and by the way, she's actually home just chilling out, sleeping, so it's relaxing this morning, so I decided to let her sleep in a little late, but yeah, y'all, we back at it again, and thanks for being patient. I'm actually, I don't know if you can hear it, I'm actually a little sick too. I got a little cold. I have a cold, so it's been going around, and you know how it is when you have kids. Eventually it can also pass to you, and I don't know if that's what it was or if it's just me somehow being outside this weekend. I don't know what it is, running around town or something. I didn't do much anyway. Maybe it was on my way home from work, or maybe it's something going around generally in Copenhagen, so I expected to get a little cold, but having said that, I did have a good, nice weekend. I hope you did too. And wow, but it's Monday, so we made it. Today is the day where supposedly there's a lot of news that will be out today regarding the economic reports, and not a lot of analysis, given the fact that the last economic reports were released. When was it? Was it released on on Thursday or Friday? It was released Friday, and so the weekend people had time to check it out. But I read shit Friday. and I just think it reminds me of bogus reports. I'm sorry, but I'm old enough to remember when you read a report a couple of years earlier when Biden was in office. They're a little more, how can I say this? They just sound different, more trustworthy, more comprehensive, and when I looked at the numbers, it just made it, to me, it looked like the numbers were fixed to not really spell out bad news, to try to, make it sound like it's not the greatest news, but it's not the worst news, like you Biden supporters thought it would be, like you liberals thought it would be really bad. It kind of reads like that, you know what I mean? And so therefore I don't really trust it. So I haven't looked at the markets yet. Bogus numbers. I ain't going for this shit. And on top of that, where's the qualifying data? What are people on the ground saying? People on the ground are like, shit is not right. So I just don't see how those numbers work. But I tell you one thing for sure, we're going to know how a lot of people felt about that data, how the world feels about that data, because we're going to see how the globe responds to that in the stock market. And by the way, Friday, after I did that program on Friday about the data, I just went ahead and got rid of my NVIDIA stock. I was like, man, fuck this. It was up. The NVIDIA stock is up. It was up. Sure, it's up. You know what I'm saying? I think each share was up like 50% from when I bought it. For some people, if you bought it early, it was probably 100% up, times two, something like that. But my shares were like $50 up when I checked them on Friday. And I was like, you know what? No point in me waiting around for the shit to hit the fan. I don't think NVIDIA's, from what I hear, it's like a loop that they're running. The billionaires are running the loop on NVIDIA to keep the value looking strong, but it's not competing. It's not doing well competing. So it has some adversaries out there on the market. But in any case, I decided to capitalize on that and prepare for my next move, which is the European markets, more in the European markets, more into the financial markets in Europe and the trade, doing the transactions, this kind of thing. And because I want to get in early on that. So no point in waiting. And then gold, we're going to see how gold goes. But before we do that, let's get into the news. I mean, there is news. People had a chance to hear Pam Bondi shit last week, and now we had some chance to digest what she had to say, that crap. Just like we had a chance to digest the economic data from the U.S. But let's hear what a few other people say that are important. And here's Adam
Today,
Schiff.
Pam Bondi
Let's see.
testified before the House Judiciary Committee. We watched it, so you don't have to. It looked like this.
Does that answer your question?
No, not even a little bit.
Then our work here is done.
Okay, that wasn't literally Pam Bondi, that was Saturday Night Live. But it was very much like that, in that Pam Bondi did what Pam Bondi does. That is, she lied, she deflected, she did everything but answer the questions. She insulted members of the House Judiciary Committee. But the House Committee, I think, learned from her appearance before the Senate that this would be her game plan, and they came prepared. You might remember when Bondi testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, instead of answering questions, she one after another just insulted the Democratic members of the committee who asked her legitimate oversight questions.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
So the House came prepared for her usual insults and deflection. Not that it necessarily...
And, and she acts like that's not her job. She's like President Trump. But then when you ask her this same question, you see this? Look at this. You ask her a question about the DOJ, right? And she goes right from that to President Trump told me so. I mean, this is what I get out of it. He wants to know, did President Trump ask you to flag those records? She avoids that, but then she says, and the military or ICE is on its way to Chicago, because if you can't protect your citizens, President Trump will. You see that? So it's kind of like she's telling you President Trump did.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
to flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
See, that's not a normal statement that the head of the DOJ makes. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Biden will. That's not a normal comment coming out of. That's not what you say when you're the head of the DOJ. You just have a job to do, and your job is the same old job. You see what I'm saying? It's not a new job. It's not a job that's just been invented for you. It's like, yo, it's just what does the. You're always supposed to be doing this, but she makes it sound like it's President Trump. So, in other words, that's her answer. President Trump told her to flag the records. I mean, that's what I get out of it.
Prepared for her usual insults and
What's up,
deflection.
Michael?
Not that it necessarily
Eric,
stopped
Rafika.
Bondi from doing her usual obstruction. So there was the deflection where she would point
Purple.
to anything but her own responsibility. A constant refrain during the hearing was Pam Bondi blaming Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Mr. Chairman,
Why?
I have asked
Didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this? Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein.
And then there was the necessary flattery of Donald Trump in answer to questions because she wants to keep her job, and that's obligatory. Here she is making a lot of false compliments of her boss.
They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. All the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. This has been the most transparent presidency.
And probably most laughable in terms of the deflections, here she is talking about the Dow.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be
Yeah, that's if you can have a 401k. A lot of people were pushed out of that shit before, due to economic times. You lose your job and things like that. And what do you have? You need to survive. You need to keep your house. You need to do something, right? So she's pretending like, there's not bad economic data there at all to share, but I mean, a lot of Americans just don't have money to invest in the stock market. To invest in the stock market, that requires that you have extra money left over after you pay your bills. That's what it requires. You know what I mean? You can't just, invest money in which, money you don't have. And that's the story she's not talking about. Secondly, how about every American is supposed to be doing well when things are going well? How about that? How about that part? You see what I mean? How about even the middle class, the working class is supposed to just be doing well no matter what? Good times for the middle class. Hey, y'all, middle class has $1,000 more a month to keep to themselves. That's good news for the middle class. The middle class has more extra money in their pocket to spend. That's good for the middle class. That's good for the economy. But they don't take this ground up approach. They don't take this ground. It's like the stock market is doing well.
talking about making America
One day.
safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
But let's go through some of the highlights or lowlights of the questioning of Pam Bondi. First, let's look at Pramila Jayapal from Washington State. She asked if there were victims present.
Oh, do me a
in the
favor. What's
hearing
up,
room.
Robert?
There were.
Do me a favor,
Here's
y'all.
what that
Click the like button if you don't mind. I appreciate that.
Looked like.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Guys,
Bondi.
no, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question. This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice.
She accused Jayapal of getting down in the gutter or theatrics, but we saw nothing but theatrics from Bondi today. No real answers to that question, no apology, no acceptance of responsibility. Once again, deflection to Merrick Garland. One other really interesting thing came out during Jayapal's questioning of Bondi, and that is this photograph taken by the press. Now, what that photograph reveals is that when Jayapal, and presumably when other members have gone to the Justice Department to review the unredacted files, that their search history, that is what documents they were searching for in the files, was secretly being recorded by Pam Bondi's Justice Department. They were basically surveilling the work that members of Congress were doing to find out what the Justice Department was hiding.
And you know what? Here's the thing. You remember all the energy for January 6th that MAGA had? You know, that was a lot of energy. That was a lot of energy. What's up with the energy on the Epstein files? Like, why aren't they totally flipped out and felt betrayed? Where's the energy? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're talking on the internet, but they damn sure ain't kicking down the Capitol stairs. They damn sure not demanding anything from Congress, not like they demanded when Trump lost the election. They demanded much more when Trump lost the election to Biden. They kicked in the door. They felt like they were being cheated. This is what they said. Where's that energy? Where's that kick in the Capitol door shit with these Republicans and getting these Epstein files released? After all, these files belong to the American people. They're owned by the American people. They're owned by every single citizen. Every single taxpayer owns them. You pay every day to house them away in a secret vault that you can't even see. There was a law passed because some congressional members got together, four Republicans and Democrats got together and said they wanted to vote. Then pretty much a huge majority of the Congress voted for it, and the Senate voted for it and passed it. President Trump, it was veto proof, meaning it was something like 2/3 of each house signed it. So Trump couldn't even veto it. So he had to sign it, the release of the Epstein documents, and he still didn't do it. They're violating the law. What's up with MAGA people? Don't you feel cheated? Don't you want to know what's going on with your country? Don't you feel like what's inside of those documents affects how your country is being run? Don't you feel like it affects your health care, that it affects that it's connected to these billionaires conspiring against the everyday American and cheating you out of your life, making your life harder and harder and harder every day, and you can't explain why things just keep getting harder and you just can't get a fair shake in the United States of America? I mean, don't you feel that way? Because that's how I feel. That's how I feel. You know, I mean, maybe you don't feel that way, but that's how I feel. And I don't see why people that kick in the door on Congress would feel any different. The kick in the door on the Capitol would feel any different about it. You know, this is even worse.
That is just...
Don't you feel like the people in the Epstein files can steal an election? Don't you feel like that? Don't you feel like they're conspiring against the country? I mean, I don't know. They seem to want to change the voter in election laws this year. What do you think about that? Aren't you angry about that? Or do you feel like, hey, that's okay? Well, I don't know. Maybe y'all are just hypocrites or something.
Appalling abuse by the Justice Department. Another key interchange during the hearing took place when Jerry Nadler of New York asked Bondi how many people had been investigated or prosecuted by the Justice Department in connection with these crimes against minors.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you...
Look at this. Look at this. Guess what? We got a troll, a Russian troll in the chat. Here we go. Who says, we don't care how you feel. Look, here we go. Here's Jeff Gates. Right, that's a troll name, obviously, trying to copy an American name. This is how you know this is not an American. We don't care how you feel, boo-hoo. And you hear that little boo-hoo like, ooh, that's supposed to hurt. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Well, look at this, because I will boo-hoo your ass in reality into your face, for real. But look at this. Just join November 9th, 2025. That's not even a year. You see what I mean? Like, this is what the trolls do. They like to make Americans hate each other. They like to pretend like they're Americans to get Americans fighting each other left and the right, when really they're foreign trolls. That's what they're doing. You know, they want to induce a civil war instead of release the Epstein files. You see, so Jeff Gates, the one with an account for less than a year, doesn't care about the Epstein files. Boo-hoo.
Even investigating.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time
You're
belongs
claiming
to
my time.
the time belongs.
I think it's very
You're claiming
interesting.
my time.
I think it's very
You're claiming my
interesting
time.
You can
that
reclaim
he
your
talks
time,
about
but
they
claiming my
indicted.
time, Mr.
The
Chairman.
president said they
Close the
indicted
clock.
him
Mr.
twice.
Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and stop
he
the clock and
indicted-
restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
So during that questioning where Jerry Nadler's just trying to get an answer, she's attacking Nadler. She then attacks Raskin, attacks his legal credentials. Really, Pam Bondi attacking Jamie Raskin over his legal credentials and expertise. Pam Bondi, this hack made for TV lawyer, is questioning. I'm sorry, it's just too absurd to be believed, but.
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Another telling interchange took place with Joe Neguse of Colorado. Joe Neguse asked about some of the people Pam Bondi has brought in as.
Stand up for the trolls. Stand up. I don't like you talking about that troll. That troll's not defending himself, but I'm going to stand up for the trolls today. Fuck the Epstein files and fuck the election. I'm standing up for trolls.
Hired in the Justice Department, including the men seen in this video.
Gotcha, Michael. Gotcha.
Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it. Because you're chasing your pension, right? Your pension. Your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement. The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless. And shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
The man in
Yeah, that guy, he works for the Department of Justice now, the one who said kill him.
that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling kill him at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared.
But he don't have that kill him regarding the Epstein files at all, does he? Nope. Just hypocrites. That's it. Going to defend the hypocrite. I got you.
Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of
he does.
Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating. And
Notice how they don't have that energy for the Epstein files. Notice that. They don't have any of this energy. Look at this. This was a critical moment in United States history. Where's that energy now? Basically, the same people that ran on the platform of release the Epstein files, we're going to bust the liberals, right? They were lied to by the billionaires and manipulated. And now that they've been lied to by the billionaires and manipulated, what are they going to do? Sit down, shut up, and learn their place. Do nothing else. That's it. But this was the energy they had when Trump, every time Trump runs for office, he says the election is rigged. So you can't really trust him because he wins the elections that he says are rigged. You see what I mean? But no one else can ever beat him. And if you ever beat him, this is what happens. So, look, they're tampering with the elections now. They want to stop the voter. They want to do voter suppression now, right? They literally want to make it so you have to have a passport to vote. But guess what, y'all? Guess what? Guess who's more likely to have a passport? Guess who that is? You think it's a Republican or you think it's a Democrat? So these people never do the data. It's the same thing. I'm sorry, but the American sentiment is not with Trump. But they're going to cheat and cheat and cheat. And this is what this is about. This is not about will they win the midterms. They won't win the midterms. Period. There is nothing they can do to win the midterm elections. It is over for them. However, the real conversation is, are you okay with cheating? Are you okay with changing the rules anytime you don't win? Are you okay with doing that? That's what the conversation has got to be about. Are you going to play fair or are you not going to play fair? That's what the election is about. And they've had new IDs issued all across the U.S. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for the IDs? So you want the citizens now to pay for the IDs? Is that what you want? In order for them to vote, you want them? Well, just how many years ago did all these states have new IDs issued that they had to pay for? Even myself, I was in DC. I had to pay for a new type of ID because the old type of ID was no longer valid. So I had to pay for a new local Washington, DC ID. Now they want to make people do it again just because something that happens every year is about to happen, an election? Nah, that don't pass the smell test. And again, it's just about being fair. It's just about being fair. If every time you lose, you go run off like a little bitch and want to change the rules, you are a sucker. That's what you are. You are just a sucker. That's what it is. You see what I'm saying? And nobody should want to be around you. Nobody should even want to clown around you. Actually, you should get the hell out of my chat if you are a sucker, because I don't hang around suckers. Okay? This is a sucker-free zone. Okay, you got to carry your own weight when you come over here, all right?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the department.
Why ain't they going after Pam Bondi like that? Kill her, kill her, kill her, release the files, kill her. Why ain't they going after Cash Patel like that? Kill him, release the files, kill him. He swore he was going to release the files on day one. Kill him. No, because they're a bunch of hypocrites. Yes. And this goes to show you, I'm going to tell you, these people might run Washington, D.C., but they don't run the motherfucking streets. Like, just straight up, they have this little fallacy that they like to throw around violence whenever they want, and they think because they have a president pardon them that means they run the streets. Oh, you just go and collaborate against your own, conspire against your own government to try to kick in the doors of the Capitol, right? And you pretend that you're going to get special treatment because the president is actually protecting you. That ain't rough. That's not soldier. Try doing that shit when the president ain't fucking protecting your ass.
Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding.
Try doing January 6th when the president ain't protecting you. Try doing it. I dare you. I double dare you. Go and do it. Get out there. Get out there. You ain't angry about the Epstein files. In fact, you ain't going to do shit about it. You're going to sit down and you're going to shut the fuck up, because that's who you've always really been. The only time when you get out there and march in the streets is when the fucking government has got your back. It's never the other way around. You are a sucker. MAGA got played for suckers. That's what that is.
Intimidating and interfering with
The
police.
people that voted for Trump, they got played for suckers. Really, this is what this is about.
With the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice.
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned.
That was her answer.
He was pardoned by President Trump. See, so anybody can play tough when you got the president pardoning you. What about everybody else? What about all the other people in the federal penitentiary that didn't get a presidential pardon? What about all the other people that face police brutality every other day that didn't get a fucking presidential pardon, didn't even get a fair trial? What about all the other victims of injustice that don't get the president on their fucking side chiming in to look and see if they were dealt with unfair? What about them? What about them? You think you tougher than them? You ain't shit.
Pardon this guy, threatening police officers, charged with crimes in connection with January 6th, and yes, they hired him. Another powerful interchange came when Ted Lieu asked about this footage with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Somebody said look, you don't even know. This is crazy. Someone said, look at this. This is fairy believer. And I don't know what that means. You must also believe in Santa Claus. I would just say that. Santa Claus believer. Epstein believer. Are you insane? I'm not an American, but we need ID and voter card when voting. Otherwise, well, listen, I'm an American. I don't even live in America, and I don't need a voter ID. I use the same goddamn ID. What are you talking about? You need a voter ID? So when you go to vote, you need a voter ID. But when you drive a car, you need a driver's license. Okay, but then when what the hell is this? Well, you know how dumb that comment sounds? So if you need a voter ID, that only says all your other IDs are no fucking good. That's what that means. Don't you understand that? That's stupid. Now, let me tell you how it's done in Denmark, Santa Claus believer, MAGA believer. How it's done in Denmark is they send one voter slip to an address if you're eligible to vote. If you have that mailbox, you're entitled to open it up to get that piece of mail where you're allowed to vote, right? Then you go down to the voting station on the date that it says, in the time that it says you're eligible to vote. And then when you go in there, they ask you 2 questions that only you would know about yourself. And that qualifies you to vote. That's it. They don't have a voter ID. I already have a regular ID. If you're going to check IDs, why not use my regular fucking ID? What are you talking about? That makes no goddamn sense. Look, this is crazy. If you need an ID and you're telling me I need a voter ID now, you're saying that my normal IDs are no good in Denmark. That's what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying, because why not just use your normal ID? Don't you think it tells you who you are? You don't think it says on my normal Danish ID whether I'm an American or I'm Danish? You don't think it says that? It does say that, Buster. It does say that. So get your shit and get your facts straight. Stop only seeing what's right in front of your nose. Do your research. Think past your own nose for a second. Get out there and do something. I mean, you hear this kind of shit? You ain't helping nobody talking about, I'm not American, but. I bet you're not even European. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you even live in a country where people vote? That's some stupid advice you just gave. Okay? At least give people some real informed advice. This is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous.
Like former Prince
You don't need voter ID. You just need ID. Okay, an ID that works for every fucking thing. Why do you need 10 different fucking IDs?
Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any...
Well, fairy believer, you might be from Sweden, but that was the dumbest shit that I've ever heard. You need to protect democracy. And what you just said is not protecting democracy. It's harming it. Okay, you need to be very cautious about that, because your country is on the front line. You having attacks, hybrid attacks every day. They want you to say some silly shit like that. Secondly, I don't really care if you're from Sweden or whatever. It's dumbasses everywhere, man. Come on. We need to wake up. This is serious. You think I really care whether you're from that? But what I'm saying is that you must not vote a whole lot, or you must not have researched this matter. Because if you need a voter ID, that means the ID you have is no fucking good already. Just think about that. Admit when you're wrong. Just admit when you're wrong. God damn, that's the easiest thing to do. That's the easiest thing to do. This is about freedom. This ain't a joke. You could easily end up being a slave. You got 2 choices, freedom and a vote, or slavery, and have somebody else making all the choices for you with no vote. Choose one. But you need to stand up for your democracy and stop trying to undermine it, man.
Underage girls at that party?
Yeah, he definitely drank the Kool-Aid. What the hell is he talking about? Yeah, we need a voter ID. You need a voter ID. Okay, you need a voter ID. Wow. What about your driver's license? That's no good anymore?
Jeffrey Epstein.
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency.
Now,
yo, you know what? The bottom line is you shouldn't even be having this conversation about ID in an election year. That in itself shows you how bogus it is. You weren't concerned about it 10 years ago. You see what I mean? You're only concerned about it when Trump is about to lose or a Republican is about to lose. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Basically call Pam Bondi a liar, which is what she is. And we got the same faux outrage from Pam Bondi, and Ted Lieu handled that beautifully.
Let's go down here. I could see somebody doesn't really know what the American Voting Act is about, so they think it's about something else. Here, can you explain what is in the, what is it? I think it's called Save America. Hold on. The Save America Voting Act. Let's see here. Just to go through it. We've already been through it on my program. I see you didn't catch it the last time. So, but it's not a problem. I mean, we can go over this. This is an important year, right? So you should know your rights, and you should know the difference between disinformation and facts, right? And you should engage the facts. Now here it is right here.
The SAVE Act, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, also sometimes referred to as the Save America Act in its most recent 2026 iteration, is a piece of legislation primarily focused on tightening voter registration and identification requirements for federal elections. The bill was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives in February 2026. Here is a breakdown of its key provisions and the surrounding debate. Key provisions. The Act's primary goal is to ensure only U.S. citizens vote in federal elections by requiring physical proof of citizenship, rather than just a signature under penalty of perjury. Documentary proof of citizenship, DPOC. To register to vote or update a registration, individuals would have to provide a specific document in person. Accepted documents include a U.S. passport, a birth certificate, often required to be presented alongside a photo ID, a naturalization certificate, a real ID that specifically indicates citizenship, though most standard real IDs do not currently show this. National Photo ID requirement. It mandates that voters present a valid photo ID when voting in person. Mail-in voting restrictions. It places new requirements on absentee ballots, such as requiring voters to provide a copy of their ID when both applying for and submitting their ballot. Voter roll purges. The bill requires states to use federal databases, like those from the Department of Homeland Security, to identify and remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. Penalties for election workers. Election officials could face criminal penalties, up to 5 years in prison, for registering someone who does not provide the required documentation. The debate. The bill is highly polarized, with supporters and critics disagreeing on its necessity and its impact. Perspective. Arguments. Supporters, Republicans, argue it is a common-sense measure to protect election integrity, prevent non-citizen voting, and increase public confidence in election results. Critics, Democrats and voting rights groups, argue it is voter suppression that targets eligible citizens, such as married women with changed names, the elderly, and low-income voters, who may not have easy access to passports or birth certificates.
Now, let's just stop right there. All of you that support this Save America Voting Rights Act, are you okay with this affecting women more than it affects men? Put a 1 in the chat if you're okay with that. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that's foul. Okay, it's very simple. It's very simple. Do you think women should have to go through more loops and hurdles to vote than men? Put a 1 in the chat if you think they should jump through more hoops. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's bullshit. And see, there you have it. There you have it right there. I don't think women should be voting. Look at this. So here we have it. Yeah, you don't think women, well, what the hell? So you're a misogynist anyway, so nobody care what you think. Here you go. So you might say that's your perspective, right? But I would say you support slavery. So I'm going to time you out for 5 minutes because you support slavery right there. Because if you don't have the right to vote, that basically means you're a slave. You see? So who else? Let me see. Mark. Anyway, I'm going to let everybody else stay in here because they didn't have enough nerve to say something stupid like Michael said, like that's a real name and shit. You know what I'm saying? This dude said no women voting. Oh, you said no women voting? Okay. Are you for that one brown tree? Let's look at his account. Let's see. Are you for that one brown tree? You don't want women voting? Let's see here. I'm just curious because I like to see if these are trolls or not. Sometimes they're trolls, sometimes they're not. Okay, this ain't a troll. He just is a fucking misogynist, man. What's going on, one brown tree? You don't want women voting? No women voting? Okay, well, see you later. Fuck you too. How about that? I hope you end up in slavery again. How about that, bro? You okay with that? Very simple. You know, it's very simple. You want to be in slavery? You okay with slavery for other people? Fine. You should be in slavery too. How about that? You see? There we go. You see, no. If you're a citizen and you do not have the right to vote, you are a slave. That's exactly what this is about. You know, voter rights, the First Amendment. So I don't know what you took first and a few other amendments, but I don't know what the hell, what you would think paying taxes is for if you don't have a right. You never heard of taxation without representation? That's what the War of Independence was fought over. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know, minimum wage is slavery. But hey, so you want to be a double one? You want minimum wage? And, some states are like $7. I don't even understand why a person would even accept that, but just saying women shouldn't vote. I'm sorry. I have to block you. Look at this. Bro, listen, you're saying that people in general don't have access to their own information is absolutely absurd. No, I didn't say that. That's what you said, Big Lar. Okay, let me look at Big Law. See, you don't listen well, Big Law. What I said is that if you want a voter ID, an ID just for voting, what you're saying is that none of the other IDs are good enough. That's what you're saying. And so what I'm saying is that it's bullshit. You don't need a voter ID all of a sudden in 2027. You have a voter registration card. That's what people got all the time, and they could ask you for that, but secondly, when you go to a voting station, they always ask you qualifying questions. They ask you your name and they ask you address, and there's not supposed to be two people at the same address and same name voting. It's very simple. You see what I'm saying? So they have a lot of ID. They have a lot of ways of referencing you. Thirdly, do you think, let's keep it simple, because this is what's in it right here. Just look at this. And I'm going to ask you again. It's okay to not support it, but I'm going to ask you again. Look, critics argue it's voter suppression that targets eligible citizens, right? Such as married women and changed names. Are you okay with that? If you okay with it targeting married women with changed names, do you know what that even means? Do you care enough about your country to even know what it means when they say that? What it means is this. It means that men often don't change their names in the United States of America when they get married. Women do. That means their name is different from their birth certificate, i.e., expecting everyone to come with a birth certificate and allow it to be accepted when your name is different. It won't work. It doesn't work. You see, there's no provisions for that in the law. There's no exceptions for it in the law. That means women have to do one more extra step to vote if this gets passed than men do. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? And plus there's other things. Exactly. There's a whole lot of other things. It's hard to get a birth certificate too, but there's a whole lot of things, along with, I'm just mentioning one of those things you should disagree. One of those things is half the majority of the population. Are you crazy? The majority of the population in the United States of America are women. Why would you pass a law? Why would you pass a law that affects most women? It doesn't make any sense. Again, this is Republican bullshit. They're so crazy. They will go after their own people, and they did this in this last situation. People that voted for them pay more for health. People that voted for Trump pay more for health care now. People that supported supported Republicans pay more for anything now. More for health care. Right? Houses cost more, shit like this, right? Now think about this. Now they're supporting another bill that affects half of the people in their community and people that are just like them in their same party, women. And they literally looked across the aisle to their counterparts. If they're conservatives, they claim to be conservatives. They looked across at the women in the Republican Party and said, we want you to do one more step than I have to do as a man in order for you to vote. I'm sorry. That's crazy. That's insane. You see? And yeah, it's insane. But this is what they're saying. So but there's more to it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you want this, you have every right to vote for it. If you want this, I think you should. It doesn't affect me. I'm an American who lives outside of the U.S. So no matter what they decide to do with their tax dollars, I don't pay my tax to the U.S. government. You see what I'm saying? So you can hurt yourself if that's what you want. If you don't want health care, that's fine with me. You don't have to vote to have health care. I'm perfectly fine with it. You can commit suicide all you want. If you don't want equal access to education, hey, it's okay with me. I'm doing fine. My kids go to school anyway. They get paid to go to school. They have universal health care also. So I'm not worried about that. If you're okay with Europeans on average after they pay their taxes and after they pay their bills having $1,000 left in their pocket when you compare them to the average American, if that's what you like, that's okay. You're free to have that and you're free to vote for it. No problem. And if you want half of the population, citizens, not being able to vote, I say you go right along ahead with it. You know, go for it. I mean, you know, somebody got to pick up the pieces. I'll be there to pick up the pieces. No problem. You know, when I see your house, you kicked out of the house, I'll come right along and say, you know what, here, man, let me help you a little bit.
Here's that scene.
Because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape.
If you like Pam Bondi up here lying to your face in Congress, I say go right ahead with it. Go for it, baby. No problem.
Just lied under oath.
Everybody in Europe is firing and kicking out of government anybody that's connected to Epstein, and everyone in the United States is hiring only people connected with Epstein. If you okay with that, baby, I say go for it, baby. Go for it.
Faux outrage from Pam Bondi, and Ted Lieu handled that beautifully. Here's that scene.
Because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath. And this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide.
Yep, they not rushing the Capitol over the Epstein files. Little girl, the limo driver said that there was a little girl that he met that when he was driving Trump around, and one of these little girls told her that Trump and Epstein assaulted her. The little girl ended up dead with her head blown off, and the police said it was not, according to him, the police said it was not a suicide, that couldn't have happened by suicide. Nobody's kicking in the door of the Capitol for her.
And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
Now, in case you think all of the pushback to Bondi and the Justice Department's terrible handling of the Epstein...
I see Matt Cool. He says, this guy's a coward who kicks people who don't agree with him. I feel women should vote because they aren't eligible to be drafted. Argue it. Don't kick me. Let's debate it. What the hell is he talking about? Look, I just unblocked your comment. The reason why I blocked you is because you said, and somebody else, who else was it? So another person also said this, that they don't think women should be able to vote. Now, look, you saying you feel women should be able to vote because they aren't eligible to be drafted. I don't, that comment don't make sense. You need to slow down when you're typing. You meant to say, I feel women shouldn't, right? Oh, okay. You did say that. You feel women shouldn't vote. Why do I even have to debate this dumb shit? Like, what is there a debate about? You feel women shouldn't vote. You're a misogynist and you complaining about the fucking rules. You complaining about somebody timing you out. What the hell is wrong with you? Nobody's going to wait. I'm not going to debate your dumb ass. You're just stupid. That's what that is. And you don't even want to show your real identity. As a matter of fact, let me open up the call-in thing real quick. Because, there's a lot of people that talk a whole lot of shit, but they don't want you to know what they sound like. They don't want you to know what their ethnicity is, where they really live. They like to hide behind a fucking keyboard, So let me just go ahead and open up this call-in thing real quick and just settle this. It is a funny dynamic when you have people, claiming to be brave and claiming other people are cowards. Like, I'm the coward, but I'm the one showing my face, but I'm the coward. I got you, baby. No problem. My address is publicly listed, but I'm the coward and shit. I got you, man. No problem. I got you, man. Come on. Don't worry about it. Here we go. So, since you're not cowards in the chat, come on in and call up. Here is the distro. Here's the Discord call in. Discord call in. Here you go. And you can get your words in. Let me hear you express your views about women. Go ahead. Let's hear it. Go ahead. And then I'm going to ask you some questions too, and you're going to answer those questions. Okay? So there we go. Here we go. Brave ones, brave hearts. Here you go. Strong men, the ones that ain't cowards. Hop up. Come and talk to the coward. Let me see here. Here we go. Come and talk to the coward. The coward has got the lines open for you right now. Hop on up. Here we go. Who should hop up? Let me see. Mercool can hop up. He can see that. Let me just, or maybe he can. He will get it again. Don't worry. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna put this up. Pin this to the top message right there, so anybody can see it. There you go, Mercool. You could call up. Now, any of the rest of these people, call on in. If you think women shouldn't be able to vote in the United States of America, call on in, because I got some questions for you too. Here we go. And until then, let's continue the show.
Came from Democrats.
Because they ain't gonna call in. They brave. I'm the coward, but they ain't gonna call in. I got you.
There was at least one Republican with the courage to stand up to Pam Bondi and demand better for the victims of Epstein's crimes. And that was Thomas Massey of Kentucky, one of the authors of the discharge petition.
Mark 9193, call up. Fairy Believer, call up. Come on now, call up. Come on, be brave now. Be brave. Big Lar, call up. Show people who you are. Let people know your views. Come on now. Don't hide behind the chat button. Don't hide behind the chat button. Call in, maggots. Yeah, call in. The fact of the matter is, in other countries, the ability to provide ID such as a driver's license or birth certificate is enough to suffice, and voter fraud isn't an issue. It's not even an issue. Exactly. It's not an issue in Denmark either. I didn't even show a damn ID to vote. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They asked me 2 questions. That I got something sent to my home that allows only me to vote with it. If you don't come with this piece of paper that comes to your mailbox, you're not allowed to vote. It's that simple. And when you go in, they ask you 2 questions about yourself, just like they do every other daily business. All the business is done like that. You see what I mean? So, it's a fraud in election year when you're talking about changing the rules to vote. It is a sign that Republicans are scared and that they are cowards about the democracy they live in. They just scared. How to call in, bro? Are you out your mind, man? You don't hear. Here's the link, man. I pinned it to the top. Pay attention, bro. Pay attention, man. Nobody, come on. Be a man. Be responsible. What the hell? Pay attention. Be a man. Man up now. Man up, y'all. Call on in. Let's hear what some of these maggots sound like, I got some questions for them too. But yeah, shit. I don't even understand it. And listen, why do you need a voter ID? Why don't you just need that ID anyway? Why do you need different IDs for different shit? So you need a driver's license to drive, but you need the voter ID to vote. So doesn't that in itself say the driver's license is no good? See, when the driver's license can't say who you are, right? When that is not proof of who you are, that means you're saying something is wrong with it. That's what you're saying. So I don't understand it. My driver's ID says what country I come from. It says what country I'm a citizen of. My goddamn non-driver's ID already says the same thing. They can tell already. They could tell. You see what I mean? So I don't really understand what this is all about. When they talk about the U.S., they're like, we need a voter ID. No. You just need to leave it alone and follow the Constitution and allow states to run their own elections like it's said in the Constitution. Now, let's go over that part. Why do states run the election process in the USA? And is it in the Constitution? It's very simple, you know. And if you want to change this, why not change it in the Constitution? I mean, they want to pass this law. They're attempting to change it, but they're deviating away from the original law. So here we go. Who knows if it's going to go through the Supreme Court? So the time, places, and manner of holding elections for senators, representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature therefor of. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations. So they want to alter the Constitution. That's what they want to do. They want to change it from state power, right? They want to take away power from the states. And again, the next time there's Democrats, this will apply to them too. If they're running things, then that means they will be the next Democratic president and will be taking over Republican states when it's time for an election. This is what that means. Why you would want that only can mean you're either stupid or you're not an American citizen. See, like I've been saying before, there's people that are trolls that just want Americans blue and red fighting each other. So that could be one of the reasons why they just don't care. Or the other reason could be that they're stupid. You see? So I don't really understand this. It's not going to change the overall sentiment of the country. People don't like Trump for a reason. You know? So hold on. Let me see here. I didn't even get, nobody even chimed in here.
The Epstein files.
Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive?
Yeah, nobody has called in. So we got Big Law who hasn't called in. We got Miko who hasn't called in. Right? Who else? Who else we got? Where all the maggots at? You know, we got Mark who hasn't called in when he's given an opportunity to let people hear his voice. Right? He doesn't want to call in. So you don't know. Mark could be anywhere. He could be anybody. Well, let's hear what he sounds like. We got what's the voter turnout in America like? 80 million. Well, they had 80 million who didn't vote. Obi, there was 80 million who didn't vote. 80 million voted for Trump. 80 million voted for Kamala Harris, and Trump edged out Kamala Harris. But there was 80 million who didn't vote at all. That's the size of a lot of countries. So that's a bigger problem. So you're right for saying that, you know. So now they want to suppress it even more. You know, but then again, this is what people want. And I'm just saying, as an American citizen, I don't live in the U.S. So my taxes don't go to this shit. My taxes go to universal health care, universal education. They go to keeping the roads in the area, in the commune where I live, clean. They make sure the public transport is working, right? They pay into other things like, what do you call it, child care. They pay into other things like, you know, just a whole list of things. Also my pension and different stuff, you know. So, but if this is what Americans in the United States of America want for their tax dollars, I say go for it. It doesn't hurt me. But my advice would be, damn, you guys sound like you put up with a whole lot of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You know, so, and nobody's calling in. You got questions? Come on, Miko. Come on. Hop on up. Here's the link again. Nobody's hopping up. So that means the truth of the matter is that now I can call them cowards. Miko, are you a coward? Are you a coward? Because you haven't hopped up. Big Law, are you a coward? You know, what's up? Are you a coward? The same app you got, the same computer you got, your phone, all you got to do is put Discord in it and you can call right up. There you go. No, I don't need to get a phone. I've been having calls on the Discord for a minute. So you just need to step up, man. You like using my chat. Why don't you work with a brother if you want to be fair? You kicked me 3 times. Come on up, Miko. You don't want nobody to hear your voice. I get it. Big Law. You don't want nobody to hear your little Law. You know, he's probably a 10-year-old kid and shit up here acting like he cares about voting and shit. You don't care about voting. You know, in any case, y'all, we know they ain't gonna call up. So in any case, anybody that want to call in, you feel free to call in. All you got to do is have distro on your phone. Discord. I'm sorry, and you can call in. Here's the link. When you click it, it will all you got to do is click the link. It will ask you if you want to install distro. So there you go. Discord. I'm sorry.
Failure and release the victims' names. Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that.
Stop talking shit, Miko. Okay? Stop hiding your face. Stop hiding your voice. Okay? Hop on up, Buster. If you watch my program, you know people been calling in. Okay? Come on now.
This is where he's...
It's not a debate. You ain't debating me about anything. You're calling in and I'm going to ask you questions. Okay? You're going to have time to talk, but I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay, you're not going to be like, if I ask you a question, who's your healthcare provider? You're not going to be like, oh, well, that's the thing. Healthcare provider, what do you mean by that? Healthcare provider could mean anything. No, this is not a debate. This is a conversation.
It's listed as a
Can I
co-conspirator.
finish my answer?
Now, the hearing today rightfully
Call in.
focused on the Epstein files and the terrible
And anybody can call in. Don't worry. You don't have to be a troll to call in. You can be a real person.
handling of the Epstein files by Pam Bondi.
All right, now here's the thing. You know, we know that the Trump and the MAGA people, they ain't going to do shit about the Epstein files. They don't care. They don't have that same energy as January 6th on the Epstein files. We know that doesn't matter to them. They're actually pro-pedophile now at this point. Before they were, you know, against it because they thought it was liberals all in the files. But now their representatives, the ones they voted for, are actually the ones hiding the files. Okay, so there you have it. Now I know he's in the chat talking about he kicked me. He kicked me, dude. You in my damn chat right now? What are you talking about now? But there's been some other interesting findings, right, regarding Epstein. So I'm going to pivot since I didn't get any calls yet, right? Since nobody was brave enough to hit the link. You know, they got to think about it forever and shit, almost like they shaking in their boots. Now, here, let me just, Dr. G, he just released some information. So I want to pivot to that, and it is insane. It's about Dr. G has been going hard on the so-called theory of Epstein killing himself. And he's a forensic analysis, right? But this is his personal opinion about what went on that night. So let's check it out. This is just under 24 hours.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing Jeffrey Epstein's final hours in prison as well as evidence of a cover-up. Before we get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. The first thing we're analyzing today is how Jeffrey Epstein's body was found, and I'm going to explain why everything you've heard about that is wrong. Then I'm going to show you some video footage that, based on everything we've been told so far, should not exist. All right, let's just jump right in. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go look inside of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. This is on what's called L tier. That's his cell block. And then once we go in the room, I'm going to show you why everything you've been told about how his body was found cannot actually be correct. We're going to go through interviews with the correctional officer who found his body, and then we're going to go through the medical examiner's report. We're going to look at a lot of different problems, but this is going to help you better understand why what you've been told about Jeffrey Epstein and how he was found cannot be correct. So as we look over here, this is where his body was found. There's a notch right up there, which is where the fabric was hanging from. I'm going to show you pictures of this, and then I'm going to explain exactly what the problem is. But I just wanted to give you some idea of the lay of what this place looked like.
Exactly, Brenda. They need their mommy to download the app for them. The goddamn misogynists need their mommies all of a sudden and shit. Gaga, mama.
Now look at the bottom there. That
Discord V is kicking me out the chat, mama.
little gray strip at the bottom. That's about 2 inches. That's going to factor into some measurements.
Big up, Brenda.
That we're going to take in just a second. But I just want you to get a good look at this, at what it looks like in live action, so you can really see the inside of his cell before we go to some pictures. Now we're going to go through some pictures, and I'm going to show you the exact problem with what's been reported about how Jeffrey Epstein's body was found. Now, this is actually part of L tier. This is the cell block where Jeffrey Epstein was housed, and you can see at the end here, there's a camera. This camera was supposed to not...
Go wake up, mommy. Tell her it's for homework. Exactly. You know what I'm saying, mommy?
Be working.
Somebody, man, V cut me out of the chat, mama.
That's going to come into play later. That's actually the second half of this video, but I just wanted to show you what this looks like because we're going to be talking about it. Now, as we turn into his cell, you can see it's an absolute mess. Sheets everywhere, blankets everywhere, clothes all over the place. The mattress has been pulled off of the top bunk. It's been put on the floor. This is actually how his cell was found the day he died. And then there's some fabric right here. We're going to come back to that. I want you to note this. We're not going to talk about it now, but this is potentially significant. And then this is where his body was actually found. Now you can see this piece of fabric right here, this long piece of fabric. Now we're going to walk through exactly what happened that morning. I'm going to explain to you the problems with what happened. And if you look closely, you can see exactly where the tear was, where he ripped the noose off of him. Now I want to make very clear, the noose was not this piece of fabric. It wasn't that this was wrapped in a circle and that he tore this. The noose was a separate piece of fabric. That is very clear from everything that's described. That is important because we're going to be doing some measurements in a few minutes. But first, I want to explain to you exactly what the correctional officer says that he found the morning of Jeffrey Epstein's death. On the morning of August 10th, 2019 at 6:33 a.m., correctional officer Michael Thomas goes in to Jeffrey Epstein's cell to bring him breakfast. What he sees is Jeffrey Epstein in a seated position, and he said that he was suspended 1 inch off the ground. Now, in that seated position, his body was upright. So his buttocks to his head were upright. His legs were pointed in front of him. And he said he ran over and he ripped the noose off, and then he started doing chest compressions. He said that his face looked normal. He said that it looks like maybe it had just happened. He said that he wasn't even sure that he was dead at the time, but he was doing chest compressions. Now, what he doesn't remember is who else was in the room. He doesn't remember what nurses came in. He doesn't remember what.
Oh, you see, now Obi doesn't want to call up. Obi, boo-boo, Obi, see you later, bye, Obi. I'm being childish, but you don't want women to vote. I mean, you being misogynistic, and now you out there calling, saying somebody else is being childish. Oh, did I hurt your little feelings, Obi? Ooh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Can't take it, huh?
Noose. He can remember pretty much no other details. And that, I think, is significant in the sense that he remembers him being suspended.
Boo-hoo, Obi. Oh, you're being childish, mama. Ooh, I can't take it. My name is Obi, and I'm a little bitch. I don't want women to vote, but I'm a little bitch.
1 inch off the ground, when at no point he actually
You know, the moment you tell me you don't care about women's rights, motherfucker, you are the fucking enemy. You better understand that. I don't have to treat you with no goddamn respect. You understand that, you stupid motherfucker? Okay, that means you're against every woman in my family fucking voting. Are you out of your mind? Like, come on, get the fuck out of here, you bitch.
Looked. Now, I do want to be clear before we go on. I am not suggesting that Michael Thomas was part of a cover-up. I actually don't think he was. I think he believes he was answering this honestly. I just think that he was wrong. Because what I think is more likely is that Jeffrey Epstein's body was sitting up against the wall, that he was seated in that position, that the string was pulled fairly tight, but that he wasn't suspended off of the ground. I think that when you see somebody in that position, particularly when they have a ligature around their neck, you assume they are suspended. I don't think that he was. I think that that's just what he logically believed because of what he was observing. I'm going to show you mathematically why there's no way he could have been suspended given what we're seeing right here. But I think that there was a genuine mistake there. And once he had reported that Jeffrey Epstein's body was suspended, that then affected the medical examiner report, and that affected how everybody saw this. Now, I'm going to show you why we know that he couldn't have been suspended right here. And just to be clear, the FBI used these pictures to show to the medical examiner to say this is what the way things were set up. So this is not and should not be changed at all from exactly the way it looked when this happened. Now, I started wondering, how do we measure this? Because it just doesn't look like that much space.
What it is, y'all, is that they're not going to hop up because a lot. What these trolls do is they like to pretend like they're a certain ethnicity. They like to pretend like they're American. This is what this is what they do. So they like to take on the identity of other people and try to get Americans to fight each other. That's what this is about. So when they get an offer to hop up, all of a sudden they got no opinion. They out now. You see, that ended it. They gone. They don't want people to know who they are, but they want people to take their comments serious. You see what I mean? So when they come in my chat and talking about, oh, you a coward. Oh, so now it's me being childish? Look, if I'm a coward, first of all, why am I up here showing my face if I'm a coward and you not showing your face? You see what I mean? Why is my my address public if I'm the coward? Where's your address, motherfucker? Like, you see what I'm saying? And this is real. We have to get real about this because there are people that want to harm our election process. And through the internet is how they do it. They troll. They troll on social media. Yes. Did you know that? Facebook, fucked up fake identities. YouTube, fake identities. And they send a message. They make it seem like people that think this are a big mass when really they're a tiny, minuscule, little weak-ass bitch mass. You see what I'm saying? That would get pimp slapped if they ever come in my face in reality. Okay. But they want to be out here talking about women shouldn't vote. women shouldn't vote. Yeah, whatever, man. Just, I don't owe you anything. You came into my feed. You want to start disrespecting women. Yeah, I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to call you a bitch for doing that. If you dare suggest that it should be that women should have to take one extra more step than a man just to vote, my answer to you is fuck you and your entire existence and everything about you. That's my answer. And I hope it follows your family back home too, wherever the fuck you from. Like, really, that's my answer.
So I was like, how could he have possibly been suspended in this small amount of space? And he wasn't in some sort of weird
devil dog. What's up? I appreciate it.
Sort of angle.
Exactly.
He is described as being vertically straight up and down. All of that aside, I wanted to figure out how we can figure out the distance to this piece of fabric right here, because it just doesn't seem that long. And I realized we've got cinder blocks right here, and cinder blocks are a standard size, including grout. They're 8 inches. So we know exactly how high this is. If you recall, I pointed out that little gray band at the bottom that's approximately 2 inches. Well, now we're going to go through and calculate exactly how high up this piece of fabric is right here. And I mentioned earlier, this potential noose, they still don't know whether or not this was it, but this would add another inch or two to all of that we just saw. So I just want you to keep in mind, they think this was probably it, but no one knows for sure. They still aren't sure what was or wasn't used as the ligature. This is their best guess, even though this right here is what is always shown. You always see pictures of this, but we know for a fact it was not this. This was unequivocally not what was used, but it was what was given to the medical examiner. We're going to get to that later. So you remember that little 2-inch band I showed you earlier on, that little gray band at the bottom? Well, I accounted for that, and now we're going to look at where this would fall on an average heighted man. So 2 inches at the bottom, and this does not count the mattress. That would probably actually add 3 inches that would negate some of this, but I'm not including that. I'm trying to be as conservative as I can be. So after one brick, we're at 10, then 18, 26, 34, and 42 inches. So we know for sure these are very standard sizes. This is most definitely correct as far as how high up this piece of fabric is. Now, the average man, the part of his neck where the ligature would have been, because we've seen pictures of Epstein, the ligature was way up there. It would have been approximately around 30 inches, give or take. If you pulled this down, it would probably be.
I told you the MAGA people, they're not interested in what happened to Epstein anymore. Look, there's two groups of people that happy Black History Month too. For me, it's every year. I study global history, and I'm like that for every year, including African history, Black history, if you want to call it that. But seriously, all people's history is beautiful, and we should celebrate everybody's history wherever we are. You know, we don't do it enough, you know, especially as Americans. We don't celebrate Native American history enough, you know, and they've been pretty much wiped out and, you know, eliminated, you know. And so for the ones that remain, they look at the rest of us like, damn, don't you see me? You know what I mean? So, you know, I try to celebrate all people's existence and history, you know what I'm saying, in general. But I understand Black History Month is also valid, you know. But in any case, here the conversation here is that, you know, to get back on it, right? Because we could see nobody wanted to hop up. That was their kryptonite. The hop up was the trolls' kryptonite. And trust me, I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I mean, I think I got something like, what is it? I don't know how many millions of views I got in this year. So I've seen a lot of people in the chat, and I've studied it. You see what I mean? And I'm used to doing real studies myself. You see what I mean? Outside of the internet, real studies on people. So that's why I leave the chat on replay, so people can collect the data and see these kind of trends, how the trolls operate, you know? Now, so the trolls, they're participating in my experiment just by showing up, even if they're dumb as fuck, right? But back to this thing. This is talking about, this guy is a forensic pathologist, right? Dr. G. He's got his own YouTube channel, and he's now doing the actual science, but he's saying it's his view just to avoid being sued. It's his personal opinion, not, you know, but he's a forensic psychologist. So here's the thing, or a forensic analyst. Now, here's the thing. He's breaking it down to just what the information is and what they displayed, what they told the public, what the DOJ has released to the public, the claims that they're actually making, you know, according to the interviews, and notice this. Why would you not have, first of all, why would you not have a picture of Jeffrey Epstein dead? Why would you not have a picture of that? That's the first thing that stands out. He's a high profile person. People would want to know, that would clear up every question in your mind. Just a picture of Epstein in the place where he died. Why? Because you have to do an investigation. So why don't they have that? You see what I mean? Now, you can easily go over and check his pulse. And if he's not, doesn't have a heartbeat, what's the deal with this? So usually when a person is pronounced dead, they take a picture before they remove the body. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're pronouncing him dead, that means a lot of time has passed. That's what that means. You see what I'm saying? So the fact that they, in all that time that passed, they didn't take one picture is foul play. That reeks of foul play right there, So, what is this dude in the chat talking about? What are you talking about, Ampas? Hop up, man. Hop up. Hop up. If you want to talk about Islamophobia, hop up, man. Come on. Islamophobia is a valid topic, but hop up, man, or stick to the topic, man. You see what I mean? These trolls are doing this. This is what they do. And I'm going to tell you, this person is hiding their identity. Doesn't want you to know who he really is, but he's claiming to be about, obviously he's claiming somebody's Islamic phobic, and he's what? Does that make you pro-Islamic? I don't know. Does it mean you're not Islamophobic? I don't know. But hop up and solve that problem. But in any case, the subject here right now is the Epstein files and how MAGA is running away from the Epstein files. Right. And Dr. G is breaking down some things about how they claim that Epstein died. So Ampas, if you don't mind, make some comments about that too. OK, because that's the subject today. If you want to hop up, you can always hop up and talk about something else too. Go ahead.
Be pulled down all the way to 24 inches. And then you add that noose that we saw earlier. That's another couple of inches on top of any looseness from the noose as well, because this was a knot that was fairly loose. We would be going all the way down to about 18 inches, if not lower. It would have been impossible with this piece of fabric right here and the noose we saw earlier. That could not have suspended somebody with the setup that we've been given. It just couldn't have. And if he was not suspended, then that means the medical examiner's findings are incorrect, because the medical examiner talked about all of the various things in the neck that were crushed. The trachea was pushed to the back of the neck. There are all of these things that are related to pressure that wouldn't happen if it was a simple asphyxiation. So the fact that he was suspended is extremely relevant to everything else. He would have had to have been suspended for the medical examiner's report to make any sense. And if he wasn't suspended, then everything that we know about how he died is wrong. Now, the alternative explanation would be that somebody set him up in a seated position, put a ligature around his neck, and pulled it tight. That's pretty much all you'd be able to do if you, in fact, murdered somebody and tried to stage it. Anything else, logistically, would just be too difficult. And so, to me, it makes sense, given how hectic everything was, how confused Michael Thomas was. And like I said, we're getting ready to go through some interviews so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. The idea that he even could estimate that he was 1 inch off the ground is implausible to me at this point. Couple of last little details I do want to point out. Piece of fabric right here, you'll notice it is straight as it goes down, except for the very bottom where it was torn. There are no indentations, there's no bends. That shows that this is oriented as it was found. Otherwise, you would see exactly where in this piece of fabric it had been hooked right here. So this is very much oriented to how it was found. Now, I want you to also notice up here, if you pay attention right there, you can see right through a little hole. And what that means is that there are other areas with the same type of hole that this has. Now, doesn't it make a lot more sense that if you were going to be suspending, you would be doing it from up here rather than down here? This certainly seems much more definite. However, if you were going to stage somebody's body, it would be a lot easier to do if you have them sitting on the ground than if you have them all the way up here. This would be, with all of that weight, this would be near impossible. So I think that continues to lend credence to the idea that this was a murder and it was staged. Before we look at the interviews with the correctional officer who found Epstein, I'm going to show you a couple of very brief documents. This is one from the FBI. They interviewed a nurse that was involved, one that went into Epstein's cell. I just wanted to point out right here, she stated the ligature was still around Epstein's neck when she saw him. And then in another document, it says the duty nurse arrived and took over administering CPR to Epstein. She saw a noose fabricated out of bed sheets, but could not recall if the noose was around his neck or on the ground next to the body. There are other people who have said they saw no noose at all. So there are reports all over the place regarding what happened to the actual ligature, who saw it, who didn't. Nobody seems to remember. Now we're going to look at some select parts of the Department of Justice's interview with Michael Thomas, the correctional officer who found Epstein. So right here, they're talking about the piece of fabric that you've seen attached to the bed. And basically, Mr. Thomas is making it very clear that what you see is the way that it was, but there was, as he says, there was more rope to it. So it was actually longer than what you're seeing right there. He says it wasn't just a singular piece. So basically he says he ripped the sheet and then he plopped down afterwards. And so Mr. Thomas says, it's just like a drop down. All right, so he dropped. And then the investigator asks, basically, do you remember if he landed on his butt? Mr. Thomas replies, yeah, on his butt. Yeah, he landed on his butt here. He landed on his butt? But his head remained upright? Nah, I'm sure the investigator asks, I don't mean upright like he was looking at you, but I mean like his body remained upright. Mr. Thomas replied, I guess he was just limped over. I would say limped over. Then the investigator replies, okay. So when you think about the fact that he tore this off of him, and then his body just plops down and he leans forward, he's still sitting upright. So that does go to show that he was oriented in a position where he was seated directly upright. In terms of describing how he looked, the investigator asked, was he like completely purple?
Now I'm going to ask a basic question to get people that are participating in the chat back on square. Put a 1 in the chat if you believe that there is not a cover-up of the Epstein files and Epstein's death. Put a 2 in the chat if you feel like there is a cover-up of the Epstein. Let me say that again. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel like there's no cover-up regarding Epstein whatsoever. Put a 2 in the chat if you feel like there is a cover-up and it's especially around his death and the files. Okay, I put it to you that way. Yeah, yeah, and also you, Ampas, I want to know your answer. Okay, since you're in the chat too, participate, please. And participate willingly also, like you're doing that, but I want to hear more than just praise Allah. I want to hear you answer one of my questions since you're here watching my programming. Okay, so Ampas, let me ask you personally, since you didn't answer, put a 1 in the chat if you feel like there is no cover up regarding Epstein, right? Put a 2 in the chat if you feel like there is a cover up and it's surrounding his death and the Epstein files. Ampas, do that since you're a respectful Muslim man. Okay? Let's see if Ampas will accept that invitation. Also, you can hop up too if you want. Anybody can hop up. Don't worry. It's a free day. I could see Ampas didn't want to put a 1 or a 2. So I guess he feels like people shouldn't ask him questions. I shouldn't ask him any questions. So since he feels that way, see you later, buddy. Boom. All right. Let's go back to
Epstein
this.
After the fact, and his face is completely purple in those pictures. Mr. Thomas says no. He was no, absolutely not. He wasn't completely. I'm going to skip down a little bit. It wasn't like he.
Yeah, I don't have all day. You don't have all day to put a 1 or a 2 in the chat. You know what I mean? Like if you in my chat, don't worry, it's okay. But look, you're gonna have to be reasonable. And if I ask you a question while you're in my chat, try to respect the fact that I have a right to answer the question and that I have my reasons and my reasons are justified. So next time when you come back, if you do, Ampas, too bad you didn't participate this time when I asked you a question. Next time consider answering it. That's all. I want to know how you feel also. And you had the opportunity to hop up. You still do. Look, the link is at the top of the chat. I know when you timed out, you can still click the link. No problem. You just can't type in the chat. So you're timed out, Pos. That means you can't type in the chat, but you can still hop up. So there you go, man.
Was red.
And anybody else can hop up too using the Discord app.
Or blue, or his lips were like a different color. It wasn't any of that stuff. He was just... And then if we scroll down a little bit further, Mr. Thomas says it wasn't no discoloration of anything like that, if that's what you're trying to get at. And it's like he's basically saying it's almost like it just happened. The investigator says, all right, so it didn't look like there was much different than when he was alive. And he says, yeah, it didn't look like that. And if we scroll down a little bit further, the investigator asks, he actually seemed like he was alive, and Mr. Thomas replies, well, he didn't. I don't really want to say dead or alive because I was doing chest compressions. I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I just kept going. I don't know if he was dead or anything at the time. So,
don't get me wrong. It's like, I feel like there's plenty of discrimination in the world. I acknowledge all, pretty much all forms. There's trans discrimination, there's Islamophobia, there's anti-Semitism, there's anti-black racism, there's gender bias, largely against women, obviously, and there's a lot more out there. Anti-Asian sentiment, bias. There's a lot of forms of bias out there in the world. So I understand that. That's a very real thing, but I'm not picking one over the other. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel one is more special than the other, to be honest with you. I feel like they all deserve acknowledgement, and people that take these things serious should also acknowledge other forms of discrimination too. That doesn't mean you have to work within them, or that doesn't mean you have to be an expert. But what I mean is that we're not entitled over each other. That's what I mean. One group of affected people shouldn't feel entitled over another. That's all I'm saying. So when I see somebody display that kind of behavior, like it only how they're affected matters to them and it's only about them, that's it, I'm not really for that, because to be honest with you, I'm not a Muslim and I'm not a Jew and I'm not really a Christian either. I was born in a Christian family, but I'm not really like that. So I don't, I believe in history. So I believe in studying religion, but studying history and finding religion's place in history, not the other way around, not religion. History has a little place in religion. No, I don't do that way. I do history of mankind, all people on earth, the entire thing, man and woman, since the beginning of time, since the earliest point that could be found, and every religion and every group of people inside of that you can find. So, that's all I'm saying, yeah.
Point being is the way he looked, it was not extremely obvious. His face was not purple. He was not even positive that he was dead at that time. He was just doing what he felt like he was supposed to do, because from what he had said, he believed that he had been hanging right there. Now we're going to go over the interview provided by the medical examiner so you can see what his conclusions were based on what he observed. So his conclusion is that it was obviously a ligature that was used for a suspended hanging. And he describes in great detail exactly what you would observe. He said that the autopsy didn't show any real signs of struggle. That's something he's been very consistent on, and he has referenced that numerous times, that what you would see is if he was fighting, that there would be broken fingernails, that he said that for men they're more pugilistic, they tend to punch each other more and that type of thing, and there was nothing obvious in that regard, and that added to his conclusion that this was in fact not a homicide. Look right here, he talks about fractures of his thyroid cartilage and one side of his hyoid bone. These are structures inside your neck, and the patterns of these fractures was consistent with a hanging. Now, all of these fractures and damage, the larynx, the voice box, it's shaped like a butterfly inside of your throat, has two horns at the top. So basically he's saying that when it gets pressed against this, that if someone is in a suspended hanging, it will press their larynx against the back of their throat, and once again, creates all sorts of damage. And he's saying right here that the cartilage was actually fractured. So someone who just had the oxygen cut off versus someone who has damage from a physical suspension is going to look very, very different. Now, one thing that's clear throughout this is that it was never fully described the way that his body was found. So there was very limited information provided to the medical examiner, and he was actually provided with a fake noose. Nobody really knows where he got what he got. Nobody knows what it is, but it's most definitely not what was actually.
So, in other words, this investigation, it didn't go well. Right. Yeah. And in terms of the forensic analysis, it didn't go well with Jeffrey Epstein's death. Right. So there's bumbles. It's been bumbled. Basically, it's been bumbled. And that was under Bill Barr. Right. He was the head of the DOJ at that time, the Justice Department. And then again, and we also just the simplest things. Nobody took a picture. No one took a picture. I mean, what is that all about? He's in a special unit. They had plenty of time. And for some reason, this is how it turned out. Cameras not working in the special unit. When they find a dead body, they don't call the police, right? They don't say somebody's dead, y'all. come investigate. We found a person hanging in their cell, but we don't know exactly what this is. You know, who decided it was a hanging? Who decided to move the body? Who, all of these things are like, so, long story short, Dr. G is saying it's not a hanging. So I'm going to put that, it wasn't a hanging, that it's something else, more like asphyxiation, but not a hanging. You couldn't, he's saying with 2 feet, with this amount of space, you could not get that much leverage or that much pressure around it. It just wouldn't work that way. You have to have more distance to be able to snap that amount, or it has to be, basically choking. It has to be someone choking him. It wouldn't happen, him doing it himself that way, and there's a lot of people that feel that way. A lot of MAGA people don't care anymore about it. They're not, it's not a concern to them at all. It's not a topic like January 6th was a topic. You see what I mean? And they probably will never enter into a phase, the MAGA folks enter into a phase like this again. You see what I mean? Because I can tell you this, Americans are tired of this bullshit. They're tired of these MAGA people making excuses for every single thing, no matter what. They're tired of a president that makes tariffs on just at a whim because of his attitude. They are tired of being challenged, their own civil rights being challenged in the country they were born and bled and ancestors bled in. They're tired of it. You see what I mean? They're tired of the president running down the economy. They're tired of a whole lot of shit. They're tired of their personal information being raided by people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. They're just tired of it. You see? So, me, myself, they covered the camera with the whiteboard. Exactly. You saw that? Exactly. They literally covered the camera with the whiteboard, went up there so you don't see what happens the day before. That's crazy. Like, that is crazy, Yeah, exactly, Dave. People are tired. So you MAGA people, if you brave enough to get out there and throw on your little MAGA hat and run around the country and want to harass people, I dare you do it without a fucking badge. I double dare you. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to say. These MAGA people are always brave when they know they have the arm of the law protecting them. And when they did January 6th, that's exactly what they had. They had Trump, the arm of the law, protecting them. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. It's always when the arm of the law is on their side do they go out and do all this violent shit. The moment the arm of the law is not on their side, they behave differently. But now enough people have clearly seen that movement wasn't about America at all. It was about the billionaire class. It was about billionaires like Jeffrey Epstein. You see what I'm saying? It was about billionaires. Pizza guy, what's up? It was about billionaires like Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. They used this whole theory to gain power for the billionaires. And the billionaires have never had more power in the history of the country than they do right now. Nobody born today has ever seen a billionaire have this much, or a group of billionaires have this much power in the country over the people. You see, the Republican Party has sold out to billionaires, and they're literally only about attacking the American people now. The rest of the world is not really going to attack them. You can see the Western world was like, oh, you want to invade Greenland? Well, then let's send some military over to Greenland and tell you, come on. That's exactly what they did. They said, shoot first. And guess what Trump said? Never mind. I ain't going to send no military there. And look, he might. I appreciate that, pizza guy. And the memberships. Big up for the memberships. Listen. And they said, look, the rest of the world said, look, this ain't America. You could treat Americans like shit if you want to. If the U.S. government wants to treat their own citizens like shit, fine. There's nothing we can do about that. But you try to bring that shit over here, and we have an answer. Our answer is bring it on. Come on. And they were like, and then the answer was also like, damn, you want to invade Greenland? Well, let's talk about Greenland. Greenland got universal health care. Greenlanders have universal education. Greenlanders, they go to school and they teach in their own native languages. In Greenland, you're going to go and you go to school in Greenland. primary school and all that shit, you're gonna learn all of that stuff in a native language. Try treating your own natives well first. You know, MAGA, how do you feel about Native Americans, MAGA? Do you like Native Americans, or do they not mean shit to you at all? You see what I mean? And so the rest of the world's not putting up with this. You know, the U.S. is far behind, you know, but you could tell a lot about the U.S. by how it treats its women, right? How it treats its women. And I'm not saying only women, but you can tell how you treat your little girls even more. How do you treat them, you know? And this Epstein thing exposes it. MAGA has a serious problem with misogyny. Republicans have a serious problem with how they treat little girls. They have a serious problem with how they treat little girls that come from the same ethnic group as them. And think about it. If you treat the women of your own ethnic group like shit, no wonder you treat other people like shit.
Everything. The only solace for me is that when a group of people...
I mean, it's these MAGA people claiming they're white as an ethnicity. That's what they're claiming. That's what I mean. I know it can be a little confusing, but they're claiming white is an ethnicity. Well, here's some white girls. And they were little girls, and this is what they said about those men, and MAGA don't give a shit about it.
Who've experienced trauma of this kind come together united against a common enemy. There's a very special bond between us all.
A painful bond shared among these 6 women sitting together for the first time for an exclusive interview with...
She's not even alive. Virginia Giuffre, she's not even alive anymore. She couldn't take it anymore. That's such a shame. And you didn't see one of these MAGA people drop one tear for her. Nope. Built into their DNA is they must first and only pretty much always hold up that man figure. I mean, that it sounds a little weird though. They must hold up that man figure. You know what I'm saying? Hold up that man in the house, boy. Woo! Glory to that man.
With NBC.
That's how the men think in MAGA. They love them some male leadership.
News.
I find it very comforting to be here.
Marika Chartouni, Anushka DeGiorgio, and Rachel K. Benavidez sharing their stories about Epstein for the first time on television.
I think the nature of this kind of abuse means that you're conditioned to be silent, to be isolated, secretive, and shameful.
I feel like, it was a big game for him, and we were the pieces of his game.
And you're like, I'm just not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do.
The women all have familiar stories of grooming, promises, and then sexual assault.
I put this on because, listen, there's a place in here where they say, and this is back a couple of years ago, right? They say, Virginia Giuffre and others, they said that they were told the reason why a lot of MAGA people ask this question, how come you didn't say nothing earlier? That's what they always say to rape victims. How come you didn't say, and sex traffic victims? This is particularly what they say to sex traffic victims. How come you didn't say anything earlier? And these women say it here. They say that they were told by Epstein and Maxwell that they own the police, they own the FBI, they own the DA. So today that would mean they own Pam Bondi, they own pretty much the government, which is why. And they were told, you better not tell because we own the government. And they were told that while they were having threats be issued against their family members. See this? This is your brother. I hope nothing happens to your brother. Look, they're going to say that. I mean, literally, her brother testified to that, that they were making threats about him. It's it's crazy.
I can relate to pretty much every person sitting here next to me.
Virginia Roberts Giuffre says Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her one summer when she was working as a locker room attendant at Mar-a-Lago. In her first broadcast interview, Virginia tells NBC News what she has previously alleged in court filings, that Epstein directed her to also have sex with a number of powerful men, among them Britain's Prince Andrew.
He was an abuser. He was a participant.
Virginia says she was 17 when this photo was taken with the prince in Maxwell's London townhome, next to the bathroom where she says he sexually abused her.
What happened? The first time in London, I was so young. Ghislaine woke me up in the morning and said, "You're going to meet a prince today." I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And then that night, Prince Andrew came to her house in London, and we went out to Club Tramp. Prince Andrew got me alcohol. It was in the VIP section. I'm pretty sure it was vodka. Prince Andrew was like, "Let's dance together." And I was like, okay. And we leave Club Tramp, and I hop in the car with Ghislaine and Jeffrey. And Ghislaine said, "He's coming back to the house. And I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein." I couldn't believe it.
Virginia says the abuse moved from the bathroom to a bedroom.
He wasn't rude or anything about it. He said, "Thank you," and some kind of soft sentiments like that, and left. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that even royalty were involved.
She says Prince Andrew abused her 2 more times, once in New York in Epstein's mansion, and again at his Virgin Islands estate.
Prince Andrew, of course, denies that this ever happened.
He denies that it ever happened, and he's going to keep denying that it ever happened. But he knows the truth, and I know the truth.
What do you say if people think this is about money for you, that you're trying to get money and have gotten money?
Well, unfortunately, there's this horrible law called statute of limitations. My lawyer said the way to get Ghislaine Maxwell held accountable, the way to get Jeffrey Epstein held accountable, is through them saying I'm a liar, which I'm not. So it's called a
Right. So, and then this is her brother, right?
One of the most prominent Jeffrey Epstein accusers, telling her story in her own words months after her death. Virginia Roberts Giuffre and her memoir, Nobody's Girl, containing disturbing and graphic descriptions of the abuse Epstein
and she killed herself, and that wasn't enough. That's not enough to change sentiment of these people that support Trump. It's not enough. It's not enough to change the sentiment regarding these Republicans that are protecting these pedophiles. Like that's what the party is literally doing right now. They are allowing Trump and the DOJ and the FBI to break the law regarding the Epstein files. You see, now I'm sorry, but Trump could be impeached. Pam Bondi could be impeached, even if Trump isn't. Kash Patel can be impeached, even if Trump isn't. But have you heard them try to impeach him yet? Nope. They haven't tried to impeach her or him, Pam Bondi or Kash Patel. And they're the ones that are in charge of releasing these files. You see what I'm saying? President Trump, he's already signed the paperwork. So why aren't Congress and the Senate impeaching them, since they're breaking the law right now? And this means that they don't feel the people that vote for them, the Republicans, do not feel the people that voted for them care about this issue enough. So they're just going to sit on it and wait. That's what that means in voter terms, And Pizza Guy said, we need to get to, people need to come out and vote in the midterms. Yeah. And people need to be concerned about voting in the midterms. And in light of this, just think about this. Just think about some of these fools' comments earlier in the chat. In light of this being the actual reality, what happened to these girls, they literally have the nerve to suggest that women shouldn't vote. Like literally, when I explained to them how the Save America Act is really, requiring women, one thing is doing is requiring women to have to do one more step than men have to do to vote. They were okay with that and even came out and said women shouldn't vote. So there you have it. And these are people that support Trump that are saying that. So it's crazy.
Others put her through. And for the first time, details of the years of abuse before that by other men, including, allegedly, her own father, starting when she was just 7 years old, something she says she hid from her brothers until much later.
You confronted your dad.
Yeah, don't worry. Big Lar ain't even hop up. He's chicken shit. But look, Big Lar, Virginia Giuffre never said that Trump didn't rape any of the other people that accused him. So what's your point, Big Law? You don't make no sense. Big Law, you're actually supporting pedophiles. That's what you're doing. You see? Now hop your ass up so people can hear your voice. Come on. Don't be a chicken shit, man. Don't just sit up there and talk your shit in the chat the whole time, man. Come on. Let's hear it, man. I don't think, to be honest with you, I think you capping for real. I don't think you being for real. So hop your ass on up. You know? In any case, he ain't gonna hop up. And he says, where's your proof? Yo, where's your proof? Where's your proof? Where's your proof that you even exist, Big Law? Do you exist? Where's your proof you're not a troll? Where's your proof you're not a troll, Big Law? Where's your proof you're not a troll? Look at this. He's like, where's her proof? Where's your proof? Where's your proof you're not a troll? Let me see. Let's take a look. This is Big Law's proof he's not a troll. Is this his proof? Let's see. I don't know. Let's take a look. Look at this shit. What is this? Is this you, Big Law? Is this you? I mean, come on, man. What the hell? Is that Big Law? Big Law, is that you, man? What the hell? That's your proof. That's your proof, man. There you go. I got you. He's talking about where's Virginia Giuffre proof. Okay. Okay. Where's the other girl's proof? Where's their proof? Where's their proof? He's sounding like a true pedophile.
I said, we know. I mean, you were a dad. You sexually abused your daughter. It's absolutely heinous what he did.
Sky Roberts is 5 years younger than Virginia, who was groomed to be Epstein's, as she put it, sex slave when she was 16. She recounts in her memoir the moment Epstein pulled out a grainy photograph of Sky, then in middle school. We know where your brother goes to school, Giuffre says Epstein told her. You must never tell us so.
So Big Law says that she never said Trump did anything. Okay, so is she telling the truth here, Big Law?
Moment Epstein pulled out a grainy photograph of Sky, then in middle school. We know where your brother goes to school, Giuffre says Epstein told her.
Is that true? Is that true, Big Law? Or is that a lie? Was she telling the truth? Or was that a lie? Big Law is talking about get a phone. I have a phone. Your phone, you can actually call on Discord. That's the whole point, stupid ass. If you have a phone, call. You know, nobody. Here's the link again. If you got a phone, what kind of phone you got? Something from 1970s and shit? That's no good, man. You know, use the same thing you got internet on, and that will suffice. Look, this is what she said. She may not have accused Trump. Well, she did, and then I think she took it back or something, but she may not have accused Trump. Fair enough. But is this real? Because if this is real, it means that Epstein was threatening people to not say anything, right? And the same people that accused Trump also said they were getting threats. So, yeah, don't know what's up with that. Don't know what's up with that.
Must never tell a soul what goes on in this house. Later, Giuffre suggests Epstein may have paid off their father in exchange for his silence.
I do remember my dad buying decently nice things at certain points in our life, like a new boat, and if there was a payment wired to him, like it would be disgusting.
So you see that? So they're saying that Epstein paid off the debt. You see? Yeah, that's what they're saying there, but they say a lot.
And he accepted money.
Their father, also named Sky Roberts, denies allegations against him, telling NBC News, "Never once did I ever abuse my daughter." And in a statement in the memoir, says he never knew what was going on with Epstein until he saw it online.
First of all, I just want to say
Giuffre died by suicide in April, but months earlier, her co-author and journalist Amy Wallace says she and Giuffre met to approve the manuscript. Omitting only one detail, Wallace says, the abuse Giuffre alleged against her husband, Robert, going public with that only days before she died.
To help readers.
Look at this. Exactly, Simon. They're afraid of Discord. You know what I'm saying? And they're kryptonite. Yeah, they are afraid. Look, if I have Discord, I got it on my phone. I have it on here. What is this dude scared about? It's me who got my face out there. My address is public. I'm on Discord. I'm on the different social media. What the hell is this dude afraid of? What secret he keeping? What secret you keeping, Big Law?
We decided that I would write a preface to the book.
You must read
What
that
the hell?
to follow through the threads of everything, because sexual abuse can so much lead to domestic violence.
Robert Giuffre filed a protective order against Virginia in early 2025.
I know what it is. Big Law is afraid I'm going to embarrass his ass up here, and that's exactly what I intend on doing. Big Law, you better never jump your ass up here on Discord ever, okay? Because I got something for you. It's going to be the grilling of a lifetime, okay? And you know
His
it.
attorney tells NBC News that because of ongoing court proceedings, he and the children are very limited in their ability to respond to the various unfounded allegations. The memoir also details Giuffre's abuse under Epstein, who died by suicide awaiting trial in 2019. And under Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's co-conspirator, who was convicted of sex trafficking in 2021. She's described by Giuffre as an apex predator who made her own sexual demands of the girls she groomed. Giuffre says Maxwell introduced her to Prince Andrew when she was 17. "My daughters are just a little younger than you," Giuffre remembers him saying, adding he behaved as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright. On Sunday, a spokesperson for Britain's Metropolitan Police told NBC News they are actively looking into reports Prince Andrew tried to obtain personal information about Giuffre. He has not commented on the newspaper reports and did not immediately respond to NBC's request for comment. The prince has long denied Giuffre's allegations. In 2022, settling a civil sex abuse lawsuit with Giuffre out of court, and in a statement, without admitting wrongdoing, said he never intended to malign Giuffre's character and regrets his association with Epstein. On Friday, the king's younger brother said he would stop using his Duke of York title after new questions over his relationship with Epstein.
All right, so most people know that these allegations are very true about Epstein, and most people with brains understand there must be something very real about the allegations regarding Trump. Whether he's been convicted of them or not, that's a whole nother thing, right? Keep in mind, Epstein wasn't convicted of anything, he said, for 20 damn years. You see what I'm saying? So it went a long time before he was actually a convicted person. And you see what I mean? Of anything. Right. So but let's continue. Dr. G, he also has something about, oh, damn, this is terrible, about acid being used. But first, I want to play to Lar, so Lar knows he doesn't have to be a little in Danish they call it tilhanger. You don't have to be a jock rider of Trump. Okay, you can grow up, you can get some courage, okay, and do something for yourself also. You don't have to always cap for Trump, because these Trump supporters are abandoning him. Big Law.
Significant week in the chase for truth and justice in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. A Trump cabinet official admitted to being on the pedophile's island after lying about it. Ghislaine Maxwell floated a quid pro quo, promising to clear Donald Trump and Bill Clinton if she is granted clemency. Republicans began to see the unredacted files, only to find even more redactions. And the Justice Department spied on those lawmakers making searches, something that caused even Speaker Mike Johnson to condemn the administration. And speaking of the DOJ, Pam Bondi acted more like a campaign surrogate than the Attorney General. She refused to answer basic questions about her handling of this case and of the files.
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you. I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you, because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
That episode may have pleased an audience of one, and even that is uncertain, but it backfired with MAGA.
Pam Bondi is a horrible speaker. She made an absolute ass of herself. This is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever witnessed from a lawmaker.
I personally lost all faith in our justice system. It is a system of injustice.
I ain't cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the conspirator documents, I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax. Shocking.
You watch, this is going to bring the country down. It's your fault, not mine.
This is either a cover-up or it's incompetence. And I want somebody to go to jail for it.
So there's two kind of Trump supporter. The pedophile type and the one that's against it, right? And Big Law, which one are you, by the way? Are you against it? Because you don't sound like you are. You sound like you're with the group that's still protecting the pedophiles, man. You know? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Usually a Pam Bondi performance like that would be just fine in MAGA world. But I think it actually says a lot about this Epstein situation that it didn't work this way. They still do want some answers. And the fact that she was stonewalling and yelling and all the theatrics about a sex pedophile ring, to MAGA's credit, that really rubbed them the wrong way.
Don't you dare accuse Pam Bondi of doing her job. Right? Because that's really at the heart of the problem here. Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of the United States. She does not.
Well, we know Big Law is not the person who is joining the other Republicans that are jumping ship because of this.
Represent Donald Trump. She does not represent Bill Clinton. She represents the people, and in this case, the victims of the Epstein scandal, right? And so the most arresting image for all the toxicity, right? And honestly, the last time I saw something that toxic, Britney Spears was involved. But for
facts. Pam Bondi talks like she's in high school. You know, like it's so annoying. I'm not to say that high school people are annoying, but you know what I mean. This kind of I don't know, this I guess over exaggerating, you know, she's exaggerating, she's pretending like something was that bad, someone's doing something to her, this kind of like game, you know, and also just, you know, this passe way of describing how she's being done wrong or Trump is being done wrong. It's like on one hand, she's trying to sound like or suggest that something's being done unfair, but she doesn't really sound angry enough. She just kind of sounds like, how dare you? How dare you say that about Trump? It's like, lady, the whole fucking world is saying this about Trump. Like, wake up.
all of that ridiculousness, the most arresting image of the entire hearing was when all of those Epstein's victims stood up and Pam Bondi refused to look at them in the face.
That is crazy. And that is Big Law, refusing to look at them in the face. I mean, he's trying to live vicariously through fucking Pam Bondi. It's crazy. Exactly. Pizza guy, bratty entitlement. Pam. Exactly. It's bratty, man. And I've seen it before. And of course, there's some, you know, everybody has their own perspective, but me not being spoiled as a kid, I see that as being bratty and entitled. You see what I mean? I wasn't spoiled as a kid. I just wasn't spoiled, and the bratty shit, it wasn't even coming out of my mouth. It wouldn't work. There was nothing there to even try to play that game with, you know? So, and then when you see Pam Bondi, it's like, damn, you can actually talk like this? You can talk like this to these congressional members and shit? You sure can. Bratty and entitled.
Pam Bondi refused to look at her clients in the face. The people she's supposed to be representing and defending, she couldn't look them in the face. And that is going to be the story of that hearing, no matter what Pam Bondi said and how she yelled and carried on.
I think one of the most striking moments was when she brought up the Dow, because what did that have to do with Epstein survivors and victims and the case, right? So it was all about performing for Donald Trump, and that's because he rewards that. What did he do after her testimony? He praised her. She stuck it to the lunatic leftists, right? So she absolutely had him in mind, and every deflection was very obvious to people. And that's the problem. You worked folks up, you said you were gonna fight the elites, and then you go in there and you actually don't get the job done. It looks as if you're hiding things. People it's not about red and blue anymore. It's about justice.
And Arthur, before you jump in, let me just disclose to the audience that you once represented Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes, we handled her appeal from her trial, but putting my lawyer's hat on, and I don't mean to correct you, but as being an attorney, those are not her clients. In other words, a criminal defense attorney has to zealously represent his or her client. A prosecutor is in a much more luxurious position. They have a quasi-judicial function. They are the ones who decide, do we prosecute a case or we don't prosecute a case? They don't just take someone for their word. They have to do an investigation and they figure it out. So her role is not what my role would be. If someone hires me, I have to fight for them no matter what. A prosecutor's role is, and even to the point
investigating Donald Trump, is that really what we think is happening?
No, I don't think Donald Trump is the target here.
Oh yeah. Somebody said in the chat, who is this? Talked about Kathy Rumler. Yeah, that's actually real too. But here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you, this is how I am. I understand a lot of Trump supporters are not like this, and I also understand maybe some Democrats are not like this. But you judge for yourself. But how I am is I'm like Eric always says, I'm actually an American citizen with a worldly perspective, right? Because I live outside of the U.S. and I'm a minority American with a worldly perspective. So my view on it is very simple. They're all public servants. They can all be replaced at any time and always should be. So I don't vote for people over and over and over again. I don't know if that's your experience somebody said, who is this? Anton, do you vote for the same people over and over? Is that what you do, Anton? Do you vote for the same people over and over and over? Who did you vote for over and over and over? Because I haven't. I don't know where that comes from. But for me, it's like I would never vote for anybody that is protecting Epstein files openly. Like for me, I'm like any congressperson, any senator, any Supreme Court justice that is playing a role in keeping those things locked up, I would not vote for them. Now, I know why he mentioned Kathy Rumler. Yeah, because this was an aide to Obama or one of the White House staffers for Obama. But I don't care who it is. I voted for Obama the first time, and then the second time I didn't. So I'm talking about who I am. I'm a Democrat, but I didn't vote for Obama the second time. Now, I wish I did because that was a mistake. Even though Obama won, it was a mistake because I see where my mistake lied. It's really the issue is with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has always been biased. So a lot of black Americans didn't vote for Obama the second time because of the issue of reparations, or they thought that Obama would do more to fight anti-black racism in law. But the truth of the matter is that now, I held him accountable for that. But now I see there's another problem. It's actually the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would never uphold anything against anti-black racism. That's what's going on in America. The Supreme Court does not believe in reparative justice for anyone, period. They don't believe in it for women. They don't believe in it for African Americans. They don't believe in it for really Native Americans. They don't believe in it for anybody, any group of people, any minorities. They don't believe in that. They didn't believe in it for minority farmers. When Biden asked Congress to pass a law, which Congress did, and the Senate upheld the law, and it went to Biden's desk and he signed it. It was for the minority farmers. Republicans fought it in the Supreme Court and it got shot down in the Supreme Court. So here's what I'm saying. And this is me. I don't think it should matter what party you are with, but obviously, if you mention Kathy Rumler having ties to Epstein, yeah, she shouldn't have a job in government ever again. However, you still have to show that is Obama saying keep the Epstein files covered up? What is Obama doing? What is Obama saying? When has he talked to Epstein? What has he done? And if you want to prove that he did anything, why wouldn't you get rid of anybody that is not right now willing to impeach or impeach Bondi, impeach Kash Patel, right? Because they're the ones not following the law to release the Epstein files. All they have to do is release it, and then we would know everything. So is Obama against releasing the Epstein files? You see what I'm saying? So I think it's kind of like you can't really go back in history. You can for some things, but when you want accountability, you need to deal with right now. So what do you want about accountability right now? What do you want about accountability right now? Anything, or do you not want any accountability right now and just want to go back to and say, and then look, somebody said Obama and Biden definitely covered up the files. No, actually, no, because you don't realize this. It wasn't the only time that the Epstein files could be fully released is in 2025. And the reason why is because there were still court cases pending. Ghislaine Maxwell was still actually trying to appeal her loss. And the appeal was just over in 2025. It's just over. So Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were in courts the whole time. You see what I'm saying? Under Biden, at least. I'm just saying under Biden there were. Now, again, though, so this thing about Biden is ridiculous because nobody could have released all the files while they're having current court cases with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. So that's not realistic. That's basically a bogus expectation. But now there's no excuse. Now the law has been passed in Congress. The majority of Democrats voted for it, right? So, I mean, that's why you're seeing the Epstein files released. So you have to give credit where credit is due if you want the Epstein files released right now. If you want accountability right now, you got to look at what's going on right now, too. You can't just divert away from what's going on right now. You see what I mean? So, yeah, Chicago said a lot of black Americans voted for Trump. Yeah, they did vote for Trump, and they getting their ass kicked right now. That's exactly what they doing. And everybody, anybody who voted for Trump, pretty much 80% of these people are getting their ass kicked right now. So, and even the people that didn't vote are getting their ass kicked right now for anybody. It's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, some people, and their excuse was what? Reparations? We're not going to support the Democrats because they keep playing us on reparations. No, it's the Supreme Court, you jackasses. If they won't issue funds to minority farmers who have been discriminated against, right? Whenever a bill passed in the U.S. Congress for all farmers, these minority farmers were getting discriminated against. If the Supreme Court wouldn't stand with them, what the hell makes you think they're going to stand with reparations? You have to remember the Supreme Court has to uphold it, whatever it is. You see what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy.
There is no target. The target was Jeffrey Epstein, and he's dead. So, and the only person in jail is a woman, Ghislaine Maxwell.
So you're saying that
hold on. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to give Antonio a chance to hop up. Here you go, Antonio. Don't tell me you're another person that doesn't hop up. You just stay in the chat. It doesn't make any sense what you're saying. Antonio says, so you truly believe they had the info and wouldn't prosecute him? No. Biden actually prosecuted Maxwell. Trump prosecuted Epstein and then just put all the shit away. You see what I'm saying? But here's the thing. The bottom line is, where's Biden in the Epstein files? Where's Obama? What did Obama do? Was Obama a part of the sex trafficking? Was Hillary a part of the sex trafficking? If you believe Obama is complicit, if you believe Biden is complicit, if you believe Hillary is complicit, then why are you sitting here accepting that Pam Bondi doesn't release the Epstein files? Why are you accepting that? Why aren't you asking for her impeachment? That's what I don't understand, Yeah, I see. Look, Antonio, come on, man, bro. If they had the info, Trump, they would have crucified him. What are you talking about? They're not releasing the files. Who has the info? Who's hiding it? You don't have all the info. Do you have the info, Antonio? Are you an American and citizen, Antonio? Do you have the right to see what's in the files, Antonio? You don't have the right to see what's in the files, Antonio. The files are being kept from you after a law was passed. She can't, the same as the victims, can't look in the camera and say nay. Anyway, y'all, here we go again. Another misogynist. No, you not, because you ain't hopping up. You don't want nobody to hear your voice. That's what that is. So hop up. You want somebody to hear your voice and confirm you're an American citizen. You ain't an American citizen, bro. That's it. I already showed my passport. I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington, D.C. My face is here. My address is public. My whole history is public. Here, you want to get a book? Check this book out, okay? It's about subculture in Washington, D.C. I'm in it because I'm born and raised in it. Boo-ha-ha. Yeah, that's right. Now, show us something of yourself, Antonio. Let me see. Let's see, Antonio. Let's see what Antonio is willing to show about himself. Just to qualify his statements, because a lot of these people, they don't have nothing. They don't want to qualify anything. Look at this. Here's Antonio's page. This is all Antonio got. He doesn't want anybody to know his ethnicity. He don't want anybody to know his race, his gender. He don't want anyone to know anything about him. He just wants you to listen to him all day long. There you go. Antonio de la Rosa, American citizen incognito. Been on YouTube 5 years. Oh shit, y'all can't see this. Hold on. This shit is ridiculous. Why do these people do this, man? I don't understand it. It's called trolling. Look, here it is. Antonio de la Rosa. There it is. Nothing on the channel, no picture, no nothing, no views about anything, only in the chat, and that's all he's going to show you about it. Nothing else. So there you have it. Here you go. If you want to hop up, Antonio, and show us something, let's go for it.
No, she has no role. She's an investigator. All I said is those are not her clients.
Those are the people that are not.
But can I say, I mean, in this paradigm, Pam Bondi's working on behalf of the people collectively.
Correct.
And justice as a concept, which would involve, we know for a fact they're victims, right? And many of those women say they have been victimized.
Okay, Antonio, should women have to do take one more step than men do in the U.S. to be able to vote? Do you support the Save America Act that makes women have to actually do one more thing than men have to do in order to vote? Do you support that? Put a 1 in the chat if you support the Save American Act, Save America Voting Rights Act. Put a 2 in the chat if you against it.
How do we know that for a fact? Well, I'm not questioning you. Okay. I'm asking you a question. How do we know for a fact? Because you realize
Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were both prosecuted for victimizing girls and women.
Okay,
I mean, so
okay, so
I don't. Is that
let me be a
really
lawyer.
in dispute?
Let me be a lawyer once again. In your open, you refer to him as a pedophile. You realize he's not a pedophile. A pedophile is someone in the law. Is someone who goes after a prepubescent person. So he has never been accused of going after someone who's a prepubescent.
Some of the victims in the documents were, according to Jamie Raskin, who saw the documents in the classified setting, were as young as 9 years old.
Okay, that's a new fact to me.
So I'm just saying, we are talking about a range of victims who can be extremely young in some cases, but Arthur, there's no question there are victims here, okay? Pam Bondi's job is to determine whether there is justice to be had. And those victims are sitting in that room and they're saying, hey, we think there is more here. Please do more. And rather than saying, we're going to do our best to make sure that we leave no stone unturned, that no one is going to get away with something if they are still around and they've committed a crime, but instead.
All right. So just for people to know, I see Antonio doesn't know this, but the Save America Act, right? An estimated 69 million women have a different name now than what was on their birth certificate. Why? Because in our culture, when you get married, you change your last name, right? Men don't do that, right? So it's requiring women to do something, on average, something men don't have to do, just because they were married, right? Yeah. So there it is. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's okay? I'm curious about that.
And she did what?
That means they won't be able to use their birth certificate as a second form of identification. You will be able to use it on average. Men will, because they don't change their names. So there it is. this is what these MAGA people do. They don't. I mean, basically, you a troll, Antonio. You're not a real American citizen. That's how I look at it. So no problem. Go ahead, keep trolling.
And people are. I mean, people on the right are disgusted. People on the left are disgusted. This is not about politics.
She did what she did because Pam Bondi is a triple threat. She is inept, incompetent, and incapable. And that's what we saw in that hearing. And it's what I've been saying for months at this table and elsewhere. She has botched this. Bondi has botched this from the very beginning. They do not communicate well with the American people, even internally and externally, to say, hey, here's what we're redacting, here's why we're redacting it, here's when the next tranche of documents are going to come. You recall a couple weeks ago, I said this was just the beginning of our national nightmare, and it's proving to be true. This nightmare is going on, and it's not going to stop until President Trump swaps her out, just like he swapped Tom Homan in to Minnesota. He's got to get her out and someone in the job that knows what they're doing. But I do want to follow up to what you said. Did you once ask why the Biden administration didn't look those survivors in the face, even one time? And don't roll your eyes, because we don't just get to erase that.
We're not going to play whataboutism over the Epstein files.
It is a whataboutism.
The person in charge right now is Pam Bondi and the Trump administration.
Nothing. 4 years.
And they should be investigating it. If you want to talk about things that I think Merrick Garland should investigate, you don't want to get me started on who I think Merrick Garland should have in jail right now. Because if Merrick Garland was doing a good job, Trump wouldn't have even been able to
Chicago 824. Yeah, that's what we went over. I mean, I've talked about that a few different times. It's not only one person accusing Trump, by the way. It's several. It's Sasha Riley accused Trump, and then another woman, they don't know her name. Her name is anonymous, out of Michigan, who said, she was trafficked in Michigan by her uncle to Epstein and Trump. She said that, she had to throw her baby in the, there's three in all, I believe. Three, there's probably more, but let's say Sasha Riley is one, right? Listen to his audio tapes. They're sickening, very compelling. Then there's the one in Michigan, the accusation made about the woman having to throw her baby in the lake because it's Trump's baby, right? And she was being trafficked by her uncle to Trump and Epstein. And then there's another person, the limousine driver, said that he met a girl while he was working for Trump that said Trump was was abusing her and sex trafficking her. And then later they found her, the police found her with her head blown off, and they said in the files, they said it couldn't be a suicide. And she had said that they were threatening her, that they would kill her if she said something. I mean, so yeah. And there's Maria was never found. Is that one girl named Maria? Yeah. So there's ample reasons why people should believe. Now, belief in itself is not proof of if it happened or not, but it has nothing to do with whether you can prove it. The first step is, do you believe? There's ample reasons for people to believe these things are absolutely true. That's not a stretch. That's not a hard leap to make anymore. That's an easy step to make, given what has been said and how it's been corroborated. The things being said. Tay, what's up? You know what I mean? So I don't even understand why you even have trolls on the internet trying to act like they don't believe the girls. It's ridiculous. Or boys too. I mean, Sasha Riley was a boy when he says this happened to him. So there's no longer this room anymore. You're allowed to believe them. That's not a stretch. The stretch is you not believing them. That's the stretch now. You see what I'm saying? The stretch is who the hell wouldn't believe these people anymore? That's the problem. Now, the next step after that is what do you do about it legally in a court? That's a different thing. That's a totally different thing. But you don't need Trump to be proven guilty of doing this to impeach him. You can simply believe it. And the question is, why doesn't Congress, the Republicans, believe these victims? Why doesn't the senators believe these victims? Why doesn't the Supreme Court believe these victims? Tune, what's up? You see what I mean? That's really the issue at this point. And for some reason, they still just don't. And it's this debate is happening in front of the world. The world is seeing it for what it is. And this is very damning to our reputation. Not that there weren't things to bitch about before and there weren't scars in our reputation before, but this is just basically the last thing. You know, if there was no doubt, if there was doubt before, this is, you know, removes all doubt that we have a problem in the U.S. with corruption. We have a problem in the U.S. with ethics and morals. You know, Devil Dog, how much evidence do MAGA trolls need? Exactly. How much do they need? They waiting for a video? They're waiting for a video, but they're not going to go January 6th on Pam Bondi to see that video. They're not going to go January 6th on Kash Patel to see that video. They're not going to go January 6th on Donald Trump to see that video. They're going to just sit back and wait and claim that we still need the evidence. But they're the ones that's supposed to be releasing it now. They're not releasing it. They're still redacting names that aren't victims. They're still holding back 3 million something files, including videos. Right. So, you know, at this point, you know, I don't see why any person that wants to be taken serious would be capping for them, you know, but yeah.
Incredibly skilled deflection.
I'm not deflecting.
You are, because you want to answer the question.
What the hell is this? I mean, and again, this is a talking head. This guy gets paid, and I'm not saying they all don't get paid, but you have to understand it. He's literally paid to take the alternative narrative, even if he doesn't believe everything he's saying.
Did what she did because Pam Bondi is a triple threat. She is inept, incompetent, and incapable. And that's what we saw in that hearing. And it's what I've been saying for months at this table and elsewhere. She has botched this. Bondi has botched this from the very beginning. They do not communicate well.
Okay, so he's speaking facts here
with the American people, even internally and externally, to say, hey, here's what we're redacting. Here's why we're redacting it. Here's when the next tranche of documents are going to come. You recall a couple of weeks ago, I said this was just the beginning of our national nightmare, and it's proving to be true. This nightmare is going on, and it's not going to stop until President Trump swaps her out, just like he swapped Tom Homan in to Minnesota. He's got to get her out and someone in the job that knows what they're doing. But I do want to follow up to what you said. Did you once ask why the Biden administration didn't look those survivors in the face, even one time? And don't roll your eyes, because it is.
Now, see, this is where it, you know, MAGA again proves to be very misinformed about it. Even the Trump administration said they had a problem. While things are being litigated in a court, they can't just release all the files, right? That's what they said. But here's the more important thing. Maxwell had already been convicted. Trump is trying to let her ass out of prison, basically. Epstein, he died while Trump was in office. So, you know, all those things were being litigated. The first time you had the opportunity to release all the files was in 2025 because Maxwell was already convicted. Now, here's the thing. You could say, why didn't they charge more people? To me, that sounds like a better question, right? And I'm willing to have that conversation. Why didn't, under, let's say, for example, Biden, why didn't Biden prosecute more people? Why didn't what's his name? Damn, the head of the DOJ, right? Or the FBI. Was it the FBI also? Why didn't he prosecute more people than just Maxwell? That's a question worth asking, but you don't see trolls, you don't see Republicans asking that. Look at this. So why didn't Dems go to Jan 6 with the files when they had the chance, my God? See, that doesn't make any sense. Because the files weren't even, they were being litigated even then. You don't understand that, you know? So this is, Merrick, this is what I'm saying, Antonio. You don't get it. Your question, you're being biased by saying, why didn't Dems? Why don't you ask a non-biased question like I did and say, why didn't Merrick Garland prosecute more people? See, that he could have done. Your claim about them not releasing the files and all of this stuff before that, they couldn't be released while you're litigating. So that's just the legal fact of it, you know? And so Yeah, that's another question, Simon. Why did Epstein get 13 months in Florida? Yeah, why did Alacosta get a job after botching that with Trump? Why did that happen? I mean, there's a whole lot of whys you can ask, but the whys got to make sense. They can't just be, you can't just repeat them and think because you're repeating what you heard that they make sense. It's crazy.
We don't just get to erase that.
We're not going to play whataboutism over the Epstein files.
It is a whataboutism.
Right. Exactly. John Cook Garland didn't even subpoena the Jan 6 phone records. Exactly. And if he did, they would have been like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? So for me, I'm a Democrat, but I don't vote for a party. I vote for what the arguments are. I vote for what the candidates stand for. So if a candidate says, I believe every American should have health care, I vote for that person. I'm not voting for them because they're a Democrat. I'm voting for them for what they stand for. If a person says we need universal education in the United States of America, or we need something equivalent to that, like student loan debt relief, I vote for that person. Not because they're a Democrat, because they're the only person running that's saying that. You see, I don't vote for people that say, let's cut more people, Americans, off of health care while they pay into it. Right now, people voted for Trump. They voted Republican. What they're doing is they created a class of people that pay taxes into Medicaid and Medicare and health care, but can't actually access it because of the pay and the deductibles and the copays. They can't now afford to even access the health care that they pay for in taxes. So here's the thing. You won't hear me saying, why didn't the Dems? No, this is class warfare. You have to vote for people that are looking out for you. Stop voting for what you're against. Start voting for what you're for. And Americans, quite frankly, don't vote to have working health care. Americans, quite frankly, don't vote to have working educational system. Americans don't vote to have fair housing. Americans don't vote for that. Americans don't vote to have a fair working wage. They don't. Not on the federal level. On the state level, the minimum wage has gone up in certain states. Those tend to be blue states. In the red states, they don't even bother. But listen, if all Americans were behind it, it would be federal law. The minimum wage would be bigger on a federal wage. Americans don't vote for union jobs. They don't vote for time off with your family. They don't vote for that. That's why you don't have it. Americans vote for, I don't want that tranny in the toilet. They vote for, I don't want that illegal getting emergency care on my tax dollar. And now their own mama can't even get it. I mean, it's like, what the hell? Now every American has to show up with an ID when they get in an emergency room. When an ambulance comes, they got to check for their ID first before they pick the ass up and give them emergency care. This is crazy. That's what Americans are voting for. That's the problem with Americans. And you can't say it's Dem or Republican. It's your goddamn brain. It's your brain. You don't vote for what you need. You only vote for what you are against to stop someone else from living their goddamn life. That's a problem in America, and that's highly problematic. That's highly. Then the other thing is a third of the people don't vote. If you don't vote, what are you complaining about? What are you bitching about if you don't vote? Let me see. Hold on. Sean Kuhn said, "Bro, I'm from Detroit, but live in Shanghai. Happy Lunar." Yeah, there you go. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. And, I encourage all Americans to travel and try living abroad. Try it. Fuck it. Try it. Because it gives you something to compare with. Then you have a well-rounded view, of things, then you can talk outside of your heart. Every American would love to believe, America's the best. Sure, you would love to believe that. Every person on earth that's born on earth would love to believe that, because that's what we're all told. Sure, fine, no problem. I want America to be number one. I think the U.S. should be number one. It could be number one. But the problem is when I travel, I find out that it isn't. And when I travel, I find out the American government doesn't take care of its citizens. It thinks very low of its citizens. How do I find that out? By traveling and finding out what other citizens of other countries have. That's how I find that out. So when I say the things I'm saying, I'm not speaking from my heart just to be saying America's the best. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. No, I'm saying, I used to be a proud American. I've traveled around and I'm starting to see there's some cracks in this argument. You know, there's some serious cracks in the argument. You know what I'm saying? You know, in Denmark, a woman is not going out asking you if she can have a fucking abortion. She don't got to ask you. She goes and talks to her doctor. That's between her and her doctor. Okay. Nobody's asking. Nobody have to. If you have a job and you have an accident, no one's asking if you're going to get fired. No one's worried about that. No, they know you in an accident. You're going to be compensated for it. Maybe after a long period of time, you might lose your job. But sick leave and all of this shit is typical. It's already handled in Denmark. You know what I mean? And in a lot of countries, basic things. You know, voting. Come on. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we could talk about that just make sense that we don't do in the U.S. We're talking about foundational things, very basic things that we're not doing right, you know, that we can discuss. But if you never lived outside of your country or found out how other people handle problems, you have nothing to compare your greatness with or your lack of greatness. That's a problem in a conversation. You see what I mean? Yeah, man, I feel you, Jean Kuhn. I feel you, man. Big up to you, and big up to everybody in Shanghai. You know, blessings from Copenhagen, Denmark. Says that the brother from DC. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Simon Muhammad said election voter turnout is worse for the midterms. It's only 50% in the U.S. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, typically it is that, but I think it's going to be, well, who knows what the outcome is going to be, but I think a lot of Americans are going to be voting this midterm election or going to try to vote. But yeah, we have a problem, man. We have an issue with voting. And the bottom line is when you go to countries that have universal health care, that have universal education, guess what else you find out? They vote in higher percentages. People turn out to vote more. You see what I'm saying? So I would say try voting for what you want. That might work if you do it. It's only a couple of days out of the year. You gotta take out of your schedule to vote for how your tax dollars get spent. And if you don't vote, you're basically paying taxes and not having any word. That's called taxation without representation. We literally fought a war over that. Any case, I got to be out. I'll be back. I appreciate everybody. I've been a little under the weather the last couple of days. I had a cold, you know, and then we've had some cold going around in the house too. So I had to chill out a little bit. But I appreciate everybody for sticking in there with me and coming through for this stream. Let me see here. Often, okay, says, what I've noticed is European countries, they have more personal freedoms than the U.S. Yo, absolutely. Absolutely. And I live in Europe, and I'm just saying that, and I love that. I love that. That, in other words, I'm free. You see what I mean? More personal freedoms. Yeah, I'm freer here. I'm freer here, man. That's what I am. I'm freer here. And why would anybody not want that? Why would anyone not want more freedom? Come on, life is too short. You see what I mean? And I know what it's like to live in the U.S. I was born and raised in the U.S. So I didn't I didn't start living outside of the U.S. until I was over 30 years old plus, right? And so I've experienced both sides of it, right? And I just know the bottom line is, look, you could say whatever. There's a lot of conversation that could be had about Denmark, and politicians and people and voters discuss things all the time. But the bottom line is that, no, I'm freer here in Denmark than I was in my own damn country where I was born. That's the bottom line. You know, and Americans need to get real about this and saying this, because things are not going to get better if we don't communicate. Those of us that can add to this conversation and qualify some of these things. Because things are not. Look at where the lack of freedom leads us. Now we got ICE out in the streets. We got people scapegoating immigrants over. Look, you notice they blame immigrants for everything. Immigrants are why we don't have health care. Immigrants are why we don't have access to education. Immigrants are why we don't have fair housing. Immigrants are this. Immigrants that. It's like, okay, so you getting rid of all these immigrants. So where are the benefits now? Where are the benefits? Where did the jobs improve at? Where did the housing improve at? Where did the access to healthcare improve at? Where did the access? See, it was a scam. It was a scam. And if you really did the research, you would know that's not what immigrants weren't to blame for that. But in case you didn't, and you're too lazy to do the research, the question is, okay, now you've had your shot. Why ain't shit better? Why is it not better? You know? And, it's just it's embarrassing at this point, but at least it's being seen across the world. The people in the world get a chance to hear these people argue these points, and they can never go back and say they didn't argue these points this way. They cannot claim that this is not how they argued these points. I mean,
in charge right now is Pam Bondi and the Trump administration.
Listen to what he said.
In the face, even one time, and don't roll your eyes because we don't just.
He's talking about, why didn't you say that about Biden? That's the typical thing. Okay, so we're not going to deal with right now. We're going to deal with Biden. You didn't like Biden though yourself, but we're going to deal with Biden instead of deal with Trump.
No. We're not going to play whataboutism over the Epstein files.
It is a whataboutism.
The person in charge right now is Pam Bondi and the Trump administration.
Nothing. 4 years.
They should be investigating it.
Hey, guess what? I'm going to wind them all up. It's Abraham Lincoln's fault. Fuck it. It's George Washington's fault. What about Ben Franklin? What about God? It's matter of fact. Let's just go all the way back. It's who was the dude that signed the Civil Rights Act in 1960 something? It's his fault. The dude who signed the Civil Rights Act, it's his goddamn fault, okay? Johnson. It's Johnson's fault. It's Kennedy's fault, okay?
Talk about things that I think Merrick Garland should investigate. You don't want to get me started on who I think Merrick Garland should have in jail right now, because if Merrick Garland was doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. It's Frederick Douglass' fault. God damn it. It's Sigourney. It's Sojourner Truth's fault. It's Frederick Douglass' fault. It's who else? What's the lady? It's Pee Wee Herman's fault. Exactly. Who was the lady who was bringing the slaves back from the South? Damn, I'm so embarrassed in that even remember her. It's Harriet Tubman's fault. Who else? God damn it. It's goddamn what's his name? Nat Turner's fault. God damn it. It's Nat Turner's fault. All this shit happening.
Trump wouldn't even been able to run for
incredibly
president.
skilled deflection.
Right?
It's Booker T. Washington's fault, y'all.
I'm not deflecting.
You are, because you want to answer the question. Did you wonder why the Biden administration did not seek justice for those survivors for 4 whole years?
They didn't not seek justice. I'm not deflecting from.
I mean, they do say shit like it was Martin Luther King's fault. They actually say that kind of shit. It was the Civil Rights Act fault. It was their fault.
A question. I'm disagreeing with your incorrect premise. They did seek justice. I didn't.
Yeah, Hunter Biden did it too. It was his fault too.
Merrick Garland went hard enough. I didn't think Merrick Garland did a great job. I do not think that Pam Bondi is doing a great job. I do not think Donald Trump is doing.
I didn't think Merrick Garland did a great job. Just because I voted for Biden doesn't mean I think Merrick Garland did a great. I think he fucked up I think he was supposed to save us, and he didn't save the people of the country. What the fuck? And this is the bullshit argument. They're like acting like Democrats was okay with Merrick Garland. No, we fucking wasn't. We wasn't okay with Merrick Garland. We wasn't okay with the Supreme Court. Why can't you not be okay with more than one thing? You know, they crazy, man. Yeah, Kunta Kinte. It's Kunta Kinte's fault also. Yes, he did. If he had never come from Gambia, none of this would have happened.
Good job. Is that a full enough answer? Nobody involved here is doing enough to defend the Epstein victims. Are you satisfied with that answer?
Sure.
Okay.
Good job.
Pam Bondi, when she.
You see that? So that's a fallacy. You know, he's trying to make it seem like Democrats, like we weren't talking about Merrick Garland. Nah, we were. We were saying, why didn't you act faster? What did you wait for? You know, that's what Democrats were saying. What is Merrick Garland fucking waiting for? And Biden was saying they're not supposed to interfere. The White House is not supposed to interfere in the Justice Department. That's how Biden saw the presidency. Trump says the exact opposite. The president is supposed to interfere in the Justice Department. So which one is it? Which one is it going to be? In the past, the Justice Department, the president wasn't supposed to interfere. Now, all of a sudden, something new, a new president has been introduced. And now it is, you can. But Biden saw it the old way. You're not supposed to interfere. So I even have the same issue with Biden. Like, yo, man, look at where our country is now. Like, I'm sorry, but if you knew that there was a threat, the type of threats we're talking about, Russia, disinformation, Russian colluding, right? We know these threats. Nah, man, the buck got to stop. All of this shit should have been outed. And I do agree with that, but we're living right now today. So you could bitch about Biden all you want. It achieves zero. Biden can do nothing for you right now. Merrick Garland can do nothing for you right now. Guess who can do something? Trump, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, the Supreme Court, the Congress, and the Senate. These are the people that can do something right now. If you don't like the situation right now, these are the people you need to be demonstrating against and speaking out against and demanding justice for. That's it. Nobody else is there anymore. Like we said, Pee Wee Herman is not in charge anymore. Harriet Tubman, no, she can't do anything for you. Frederick Douglass can't. Nat Turner can't. Obama can't. He can't do anything for you. It's just on and on and on. Can't do it.
She went up to the Hill. She had these images of the search history of the members who went up to the DOJ to take a look at the unredacted files. She seemed to be convinced that this was, I guess, a defensive measure if any of those issues came up while she was on Capitol Hill. But here's what Mike Johnson said about the appropriateness of that.
My understanding is that their computers set up where the DOJ was allowing access to the files, and I think members should obviously have the right to peruse those at their own speed and with their own discretion. And I don't think it's appropriate for anybody to be tracking that. So I will echo that to anybody involved with the DOJ, and I'm sure it was an oversight. That's my guess.
Yeah, so even Mike Johnson doesn't agree with Pam Bondi on tracking the information, And so, I mean, again, is that an issue for you or not? It's not an issue for Antonio De La Rosa, right? Who, obviously is not really an American citizen, is hiding, American citizen in hiding, doesn't want to reveal where he comes from, or what he looks like or his ethnicity. He's probably not even a Latino. I'm pretty sure of that. He's probably somebody off in a Russian or Ghanaian neighborhood somewhere getting paid 2 cents an hour to goddamn, excuse me, y'all, if that sounds a little, I know Ghana is not the same as Russia, 10 cents an hour, who knows, anybody, a bunch of troll farms somewhere with people locked in a room and shit. Here you go. Yeah. We got you. Great point you're making. Excellent point.
I don't think a printout of a specific congressperson's note is an oversight. That's the first thing. But why do you think, Natasha, that the DOJ decided to do that? I mean, it seems like a defensive move, like they're trying to protect themselves from something.
I honestly have no idea. I don't know why they would do that. It certainly feeds into a narrative that, again, this is not a straightforward investigation. It's not one that's focused on victims. It's extremely politicized. And the people who should be front and center, who should be held accountable, are redacted, are protected, are essentially not being put forward to have to answer difficult questions. So
exactly. So they're giving a scapegoat mechanism. But on that note, I'm gonna be out, y'all. I appreciate everybody coming through, even the trolls, no problem. But look, you gotta man up. You got big words for people. You gotta man up. You got large expectations. You gotta man up. Yeah, and you also when people are asking questions, you got to chime in. You know what I'm saying? You gotta participate also, because you're given an opportunity to participate also. And over here, I do fair is fair. I don't owe you anything, so I want to be treated fairly. Period. So you ask me a question, I get to ask you a question. You want to answer from me, I want to answer from you. That's how this conversation works over here. You know, and yeah. And on that note, I don't see what the debate is. Why are people debating about the Epstein files? It's a crime to withhold the Epstein files from the American people. They haven't been released. A crime is happening right now. You're either concerned about that crime happening right now or you're not, you know? And, yo, why you keep calling me my guy? I'm not your guy, motherfucker. What are you talking about? Who the hell are you? You have nothing here, man. You're not even trying to show who you are. What are you talking about? I don't understand this. Look at this. This account is 5 years old. There's nothing on the account. This is not a real person. This is not a Latino. This person's name is not Antonio De La Rosa. This is a fake account that wants to be treated like everybody else who's, you know, you ain't going to be treated like me because you actually see who I am. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to treat you like that. And if I suspect you a troll, that's what I'm going to call you. But particularly, you know, look at this. Here we go. Let's see. This is how you know the person's not American. You're a clown, dude, Democrat. You see? Because it's got to be about the Democrats and the Republicans. You see what I mean? So it's never about the issues, you know? It's no problem. If you think I'm a clown, why you here, baby boy? Come on. Prove who you are. Say something. Do something. Step up. Be more than a internet troll. You know, be more than a comment. You know, a chat warrior. You know, hop your ass up, man. Come on, hop your ass up. What are you scared of? What's the big problem? I'm American born. Yeah, you can say that all you want, but that anybody can say that. Anybody can say it. There you go. Come on, hop up. Anybody can say it. Let's hear what you sound like. Are you afraid that you don't sound like Antonio De La Rosa? You afraid you don't sound like that? What? You probably sound like, yes, me, he's salty kill. That's probably what it is. I think so. But in any case, you know, this is so funny shit. In any case, I'll be back. I'll be back with everybody. I appreciate everybody for coming out. You know, and I also appreciate the trolls for participating as much as you could. You know, you could do better, but, you know, at least you did a little. You did the smallest amount. You got in my chat and you participated in the chat and you stuck your chest out in the chat. I get it. But on any case, I'm out. I will be back. I appreciate y'all. One, impeach Trump. Fuck Trump. Right? Fuck Trump all day long. Fuck Pam Bondi. Fuck Kash Patel. Right? And we need health care for all Americans. We need access to education for all Americans, despite how much money you got in your pocket. Peace.
When I'm out walking, sometimes I think about, does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the project center rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. There goes Rollo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, ayo niggas gots to go. No show is live with narrating, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking
yes, you
lie.
know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong.
Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families. Genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist. Giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists. They see us just as being sheep in this world. that want us to do what we're told, like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality
And
this
yes, you know
day.
the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong.
Everybody round the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods. Twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate. Understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate. We can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true.
And yes, you know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong.
Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. You might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills. Cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. And hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, that balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shake. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip hip hop pillars. They more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid. I bet for keep to me
relax and just hear and don't cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat, just relax and just hear and don't cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat, just relax.